A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all old-time radio.
She is. That's Molly Goldberg, folks. A woman with a place in every heart and a finger in every pie. And now the makers of New Does, that new kind of soap for everything right down your wash line, bring you another visit with those good folks, the Goldbergs. Please, girls. Quiet. All right, today we bring our special Wash Day School for Brides, conducted by Professor Duck. All right, now first I'm going to ask some of you brides to step up to the microphone here and tell me just what are your biggest Wash Day problems. Okay, who's first?
Professor.
Yes?
I have a terrible time with my husband's work shirt. I just scrub and scrub.
Well, we'll take care of that.
Well, my problem is getting my towels white enough to satisfy my mother-in-law.
Towels, eh? Next?
I just can't find a wash day soap that's really safe for my rayons and nicer colors in it.
Problem number 3, rayons. Well, girls, you certainly brought your wash day troubles to the right place. Because here's how to solve all 3 of those problems with just one soap.
What? One soap for everything?
Yes, Does. That new kind of granulated soap does everything. It's Procter & Gamble's new soap Discovery, and it does all 3 kinds of wash. Work shirts, towels, to pretty rayon slips.
But, Professor, my mother always warned me that granulated wash day soaps were too hard on those nice colors.
Well, Does is different from any of the 4 other leading granulated wash day soaps. It's far safer for your fussy-colored rayons and nicer washables.
But, will Does get my towels white? They have to suit my mother-in-law, remember?
They will. Why, she's never seen whiter washes than Does does. In fact, it can't be beat by any other soap for getting clothes dazzling white.
Don't forget me and my work shirt.
Don't you worry. Does will get them really clean without any hard scrubbing. Why, no soap made gets clothes clean easier than Does.
Say, if Does can do all that, I'm going to try it. Me too. Professor, you're wonderful.
No, it's not me. It's Does. Just try it. You'll see it's not just a new improvement of an old soap, but a really new kind of granulated soap. Ask for DUZ, Does, today. And next wash day, let Does do everything. And now, the Goldbergs. When you're 17 and in love with a wonderful young man, when your family is opposed at first, and his is also, when he breaks off with his family and another girl because of you, when he says he's willing to give up all the advantages of a wealthy and easy life because he wants to live his own way, and that seems to mean you, well, you, like Rosie, would do anything to cover up for the boy you loved. And this afternoon, when Walter was supposed to be down at the mill seeing Jake about a job, Walter was fast asleep at home. But Rosie told her family that Walter was in another town looking for a better job. The lie is working for Walter. Listen.
Well, my hat will certainly tip to Walter for his ambition.
Where are you going, Rosalie? Well, I thought I'd walk up the road and meet Walter.
Well, why should you do that, darling? Why should you walk up the road? He'll probably, evidently be very detained. I mean, he was to drive Rook, he has to see the president of the bank, and he has to go back to the house and wash up, maybe wants to change himself. Why should you walk in the road, darling? After all, you ain't got your walkable shoes on. It looks like it's drizzling also. Why, darling? Why should you? And Papa wants to talk to you, too, about the job.
That's right. Sit here, Rosalind. Tell Papa more about the job. You think I'm not anxious?
Well, I told you all I know. But why can't I go out and meet Walter, Ma?
Because, darling, firstly, the table is not completely set.
And secondly, I want to hear more about the job.
Well, Walter went to Drybrook, and and saw the president of the bank.
You see that, Sammy? A boy that never had to do a stitch of work in his life. I must say I didn't expect as much.
I did.
Did Walter say he had the job?
No, he was interviewed, and it looks practically settled.
You say Walter knew these people at the bank?
Yes, and he thought it would be a good idea before he comes down the mill to go over and see these people and talk to them. So he went over to the bank.
Well, at least he could have called and told Papa he wasn't coming over to the mill.
Well, he wanted to surprise us. It's only natural, Sam.
I didn't say it was unnatural.
It shows energy. Energy. And energy is what we need today.
I should say, I'll take the telephone.
If it's for me, Mama, darling.
If it's for you, I'll tell you it's for you. If it's for you, will I talk on the phone? Hello?
Hello, Mrs. Goldberg?
Yes?
This is Dr. Keaton.
No, it's for me. Hello?
Hello?
Yes?
I want to say something to you, Mrs. Goldberg. Is Walter there yet?
No.
Well, he's on his way over to have dinner with you.
I know.
Is Rosie near you?
Yes.
Well, then be careful. I just wanted to say something.
Yes.
Before Walter's father left, he said he would talk to Mr. Goldberg about giving Walter a job in the mill.
Yes.
Well, I wish Mr. Goldberg would, and just as soon as possible, too.
Who is it, Molly?
It's for me, Jay.
That boy should be occupied.
Well, wasn't he all afternoon to Drybrook? To the bank?
Drybrook? To the bank? No. Well, no, he was here all afternoon, reading a book. And then he fell asleep.
Oh.
Now, do you know, Mrs. Goldberg, that's just the kind of irresponsible existence he shouldn't have.
You mean that he wasn't?
Yes. After all, Mrs. Goldberg, if the boy really wants to live independently, he has to begin.
Oh.
Or else, well, he'll just loaf around until his money runs out and then run back to his family.
Molly. Not so long on the phone.
I'll be right in. Hello?
Hello, Mrs. Goldberg.
Hello. You're sure that he was in your house all afternoon?
Absolutely positive. Now, you understand, Mrs. Goldberg, that I'm partly responsible for the boy.
Indeed. I'll call you back.
Yes, when you get a chance.
Yes.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Who was on the phone?
Nobody.
You're hungry, Papa, darling. Why don't you eat?
I'll wait for Walter, Rosa.
If you want to eat, Sam.
No, we'll wait.
Who did Walter see at the bank in Drybrook, Rosa?
Well, he didn't mention the man's name, Papa.
And you say that he practically has the job, eh?
Practically, he just has to wait to hear.
Well, that's very nice, I must say. Working in a bank suits Walter better than carrying packages in the mill on the seamless direction.
Where are you going, Rosalind?
I'll walk up the road and meet Walter. All right?
All right.
Congratulate him for me, Rosalind.
Well, he hasn't got the job yet. It's not definite. It's just an iron in the fire.
It's not what the boy gets. It's what he does to get it that counts.
You don't need something on your shoulders, Rosalind? Coat or...
No, I'm all right, Mom.
Oh.
Well, Molly, dear darling, maybe there is more to Walter than we are giving him credit for. Sammy, who is the president of the Drybrook Bank?
Mr. Ashley, isn't it?
Get him on the phone for me.
Not at this hour, Jake. Darling, the bank is closed.
A country bank is not a city bank.
Jake, why now?
A good word from a good account is always...
Leave it here.
Oh, why should you be in such...
Why shouldn't I? As long as the boy shows the initiative
But,
and
Jake...
find his residence.
It's probably a private number, Paul.
Why should you be so contrary, Vine?
Because now is not the time.
Why not?
Maybe Walter wouldn't want you to do that, Paul.
Why not?
Walter will be here soon. Ask him.
Rosalie said not to ask questions.
I'm going to call nevertheless.
But now to call a bank and
Hello?
call the president.
Hello? Get me the bank in Drybrook. I want to speak to Mr. Ashley.
Jake, if you're going
Get his residence then, and call me back. Where is my old deposit book? I want to recall my old deposits.
your deposit book ran transferred upstairs.
Yeah, then call me when the call comes in.
Yes, we will, Jake, dear. I'll call you when the call comes in, dear. tell me to call up and cancel the call.
Why, Ma?
Because...
Ma, what is it? Tell me.
Cancel it, Family, please.
Why, Ma? Rosie invented that story about the bank, didn't she?
Family, cancel the call.
Walter never went to the bank.
I can't find her. I'm coming up, dear. I'm coming up. Look in the little drawer on the second bureau. On my bureau in the second drawer. Maybe it's in my black pocket or somewhere or another. Look, dear. Look, dear. I'm coming up presently. Cancel it, Sammy. Walter didn't went to the bank.
Molly, where you put things?
I'm coming. I'm coming this second. I'm coming.
Okay. Hello. Oh, operator. Hello. Will you please cancel that call to Drybrook? Please. Yes.
Come in, Walter.
Stay out, Sporty. You want to talk in?
No.
Hello, Sammy. Listen, Rosie. Did you tell Walter?
Did I what?
I don't know what's going on. All I know is that Mama knows and I know you didn't go to Drybrook, Walter. I never said I did. Well, Rosie said you did. My father wants to call the president of the bank there and put in a good word for you. Why did you make up that story, Rosie? Why did you?
Rosie just told me about it.
Well, it was ridiculous.
Rosie was trying to protect me from your father's bad affairs.
Does Papa know?
No, and if he ever finds out... Gee, Rosie, I don't
You'll
know.
have to say that you were there, Walter.
All right. But I certainly don't enjoy lying to your father.
Why did you have to invent that story, Rosie? After all, Walter doesn't have to work at the mill if he doesn't want to.
Daddy, please, not now.
You better say something to get my father not to call Walter.
Good evening, my enterprising young friend.
Good evening, Walter.
Did you heard yet from the bank, Walter? Walter, I'm going to put in a good word for you.
But, Walter, it's...
That's all right, Rosalind. A little push can't hurt.
But
It's my pleasure to do something for you,
But
Walter.
Walter thinks that he would...
It's all right, Rosalind. Let Papa do.
Jake.
Molly, please.
Rosalind, tell Papa. Tell Papa he'll be very pleased to know that Walter would much rather work in the mill than the biggest bank of the biggest bank.
You mean it?
Sure, I mean it. Of course. Why did you want to work? Why did Walter want to work?
Poor Rosie, in her effort to protect the young boy she loved, certainly forced him into an unwelcome situation. I don't mean covering her lie. Oh, no. I mean going to work at the mill, where it's obvious that Walter isn't exactly thrilled by it. And now I want to talk to just those ladies who have a stack of dirty dishes to wash every day. Are you still using a halfway soap? You are if it's a tough granulated soap because it's short on safety for your hands. And if you use a bar soap, it doesn't have real speed. Well, at last you can forget such halfway soaps because New Does is here. It brings you a new kind of dishwashing. Yes, this new kind of granulated soap for everything in your wash really has everything for dishes, too, from whirlwind speed to extra safety for your hands. Actually, Does is far kinder to your hands than any of the 4 other leading granulated wash day soaps. Yes, notice how wonderfully soft and smooth your hands feel after doing dishes with Does. Yet this same Does speeds through dishes as fast as the fastest soap there is. It cuts even tough grease without hard scouring. Try it tonight, and let those amazing suds tell you Does really has everything for dishes. Be sure to listen to the next episode of The Goldbergs, written for you by Gertrude Berg. Next week, the new situation forced on Walter, like the old one from which he escaped, arouses new obstacles and new hopes. This is Clayton Collier wishing you good day for Procter & Gamble, makers of Does, the new kind of granulated soap for all 3 kinds of wash.
Ladies and gentlemen, Crime Prevention Week, now being observed nationally, is designed for one purpose: to emphasize that crime is your personal enemy, costs money and lives. It weakens the moral and physical strength of your community. Show your respect for the law by cooperating with your police officer 52 weeks a year. Join the fight to stamp out crime, the ally of treason.
The story you are about to hear is true. Only the names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of all long cigarettes, brings you Dragnet.
Detective Sergeant. You're assigned to bunco detail. A husband and wife confidence team has shifted operations to your city. Their criminal record dates back 17 years. They're masters in the art of swindling. Your job? Get them. You'll be amazed when you compare Fatima with other long cigarettes.
You'll find they now cost the same. But in Fatima, the difference is quality.
You see, Fatima is the quality king-size cigarette because it contains the finest domestic and Turkish tobaccos superbly blended. And Fatima is extra mild, with a much different, much better flavor and aroma than any other long cigarette.
So compare Fatima yourself. Fatimas now cost the same as other long cigarettes, but your first puff will tell you...
Ah, that's different.
Yes, in Fatima, the difference is quality. Ask your dealer for Fatima, the quality king-size cigarette. Best of all long cigarettes. Start enjoying Fatima tomorrow.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Monday, April 20th. It was windy in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of bunco detail. My partner's Ben Romero. The boss is Captain McCauley. My name's Friday. We were on the way out from the office, and it was 10:35 a.m. when we got to the Holy Gospel Tabernacle, the pastor's house.
Look at that palm tree.
Yeah.
Windstorm sure didn't do it any good.
Well, it was really blowing last night. Woke me up a couple of times.
Yeah, not me. I slept like a baby. What'd you say the name here was, Olson?
Yeah, got it right here. Reverend Andrew Olson.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't seem to be anybody at home. I'll try it again.
Mm-hmm. We said on the phone he'd either be here or at the church.
Where's that?
Just around the corner, faces on South Spring.
Not a very wealthy-looking neighborhood.
It must be the church up there.
Mm-hmm. Sure could stand a coat of paint.
Grounds are well kept, aren't they? Nice flower beds.
Look at that. Giant pansies. Tried some in the backyard last year. Too bad.
What do you mean?
Giant snails. Sliced them right off at the roots.
Guess that must be him up at the front, huh? Better close the door, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Come on. Excuse me, sir?
Oh, didn't see you.
You the Reverend Olson?
Yes, can I help you?
My name's Friday, Reverend. I talked to you on the phone.
Oh, yes, Sergeant.
And this is my partner, Sergeant Romero.
How do you do?
Oh, that night.
Sergeant Merrill?
No, that's Romero, Reverend.
Oh, excuse me, Romero. Didn't expect you so soon. A little busy here fixing the pulpit. It happened last Sunday.
What's that, Reverend?
Guess I got carried away with my sermon. Quite a commotion.
Oh?
I leaned forward in the pulpit. This whole section here just splintered and broke right off. Ruined my whole sermon. Well, I can finish this up later. Have a chair there, officers.
No, thank you very much.
Well, there it is, Sergeant. The names, descriptions. Mr. and Mrs. Tom Herbert. That's the name they used, anyway.
Mm-hmm. Would you mind briefing us on how it happened, Reverend? When did you first meet this couple?
They came to us a little over a month ago. Didn't have any reason to be suspicious. Mr. Herbert showed me some fine references. I didn't think it was necessary to check them.
What kind of approach did they use? Could you tell us?
On the first visit, Mrs. Herbert did most of the talking. She told me she and her husband wanted to write a history of our church. It was supposed to be part of an historical book on all the churches in the county. Naturally, I felt a little flattered about it.
Mm-hmm. Did this Mr. and Ms. Herbert make any demands for money or to write about your church, I mean?
Oh, no. There was no money involved at first. They said all they wanted was our cooperation in doing some of the research work. Looking up dates, names, things like that.
Oh, I see.
They seemed very sincere, both of them. Didn't drink, smoke. They worked very hard during the search and writing. I don't know why they had to change. Would have been nice having history written about our church.
Yes, sir. When did they first bring up the idea of money?
Well, Mr. Herbert came to me one day and showed me this letter. It was supposed to be from the people who were going to publish the history of our church. The letter said, well, because of certain business reasons, the whole thing was off. They couldn't publish the book. Mr. Herbert acted very sorry.
Mm-hmm. Did he leave that letter with you, Reverend?
No, he took it with him.
Mm-hmm.
I felt badly about the whole thing. They're doing all that work and then the book not being published.
Mm-hmm. Well, did the Herberts broach the idea of you and the church putting up the money to print the book?
Well, no, not exactly, but I guess they gave me the idea.
How do you mean?
They suggested that I talk it over with the church board, so I did. We all agreed it'd be a shame to give up the idea of the book after so much work had gone into it.
Is that when you agreed to finance the book?
Well, the board and I did, yes. It's all my fault, though. I helped to persuade them.
And the money came out of church funds, is that it?
As a matter of fact, it didn't. We only have a small operating fund, so you can see we're a small church. Congregation isn't wealthy.
And where'd the money come from, sir?
Well, for one thing, the ladies of the Altar Society put on a Sunday afternoon ham dinner. It made some money, and then the Herberts suggested we help sell advertising to pay part of the cost, so we did that, too. It still wasn't enough.
Well, exactly how much did you turn over to the Herberts?
$804.61. I had to borrow $350 from the bank to make it. It'll all have to be paid back. People who paid for their advertising, too. It'll all have to come out of our pocket. It's a terrible thing.
Yes, sir, it is.
Terrible. I don't know what I'm going to do. I hate to ask the congregation for it. Their offerings have always been so generous, and they're not wealthy either, just working people.
Well, when was the last time that you heard from this Mr. and Ms. Herbert, Reverend?
A week ago, I guess. Yes, it was last Monday. I got anxious and called them at their hotel. It's on South Grand. I can give you the address. They told me when the books would be ready. It said it would be on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
That's the last I heard of them.
No forwarding address, no other place that you think we might find them?
No, I'm sorry. Just don't have any idea. It's so hard to believe anyone would do such a thing to us.
Yes, sir. I wonder if we could have the address of their hotel.
Yes, all right. If you'll come with me, I have it over at the house.
Did Mr. and Ms. Herbert have a car, do you know, Reverend?
I don't think so. If they did, I never saw it. I don't know what I'm going to tell the congregation. $800, that's a lot of money to our people.
Yes, sir.
Tell me, Sergeant. I don't mean to be uncharitable, but Mr. and Mrs. Herbert, do they have a criminal record? Have they done this sort of thing before?
Well, their descriptions seem to fit a couple that we've been looking for. They've been working at churches in this area on and off for a couple of years now.
Can't understand why they do such a thing. It's almost like robbing a poor box.
Yes, sir, they've done that, too. 11:15 a.m. We went back to the city hall and pulled the package on the suspects, Mr. and Mrs. Tom Herbert. They were a veteran man and wife confidence team who'd worked the Los Angeles area and other large cities around the country. Their specialty seemed to be swindling churches and clergymen. Over a period of 17 years, they'd piled up a long record involving frauds and various bunco games, but they'd only been brought to trial once. The case had been dismissed for lack of sufficient evidence. 11:35 a.m., we took mug shots of Mr. and Mrs. Herbert out to the Reverend Olson, and he identified them. We checked the hotel on South Grand where they'd been staying. No leads. We got out a local broadcast and an APB on them. Together with the sheriff's office, we sent a special bulletin about the Herberts to the pastors of the different churches in the city and county. From the list of names on the mama sheet, we began checking out all the known friends and relatives of the suspects. One of them was a Clyde Harris, proprietor of a physical culture school out in the Wilshire district. 1 p.m. Tuesday, we drove out to talk to him.
Which way, Joe?
Right down the street, the blue and white sign there.
Oh, yeah. Venus School of Physical Culture. I can make you an all-American girl, Clyde Harris, manager. Looks like the office here.
No, we're supposed to meet him in the gym. That's next door.
Oh.
Yeah, here.
No, go ahead. No, yeah. Back this way, I guess.
All right, now. Once again, please. All together with me. 1, 2, 3, 4. Extend and hold down. Extend and hold down. With me, please. 3, 4. Mrs. Collison. Hold down. 1, 2. Hold down. 1, 2. 3, 4, 10, hold down.
Hold it a minute. No, I'm sorry, Mrs. Tolliverson. You're doing it wrong. Your pelvis is all out of position.
Excuse me, are you Clyde Harris?
Yes, did you want something?
Police officer, Mr. Harris. Like to talk to you?
Oh, yeah, officer. Could you hold on half a minute?
Sure, go right ahead.
Francis, would you take over here for a few minutes? I have to talk to these gentlemen. Ladies, Francis is going to count for you for a while. You go right ahead with the lesson. I'll be back in a few minutes. Back here, officers. Won't take too long, will it?
No, sir, just a few minutes. Sorry to interrupt your lesson.
That's all right. I just don't want to have the ladies thinking I neglect it, and they pay good money for these exercises.
Yeah.
Here you are. Have a chair.
Thank you.
You said something about Tom Herbert on the phone, Sergeant. What's it all about?
Well, we understand that you're a friend of the Herberts, Mr. Harris.
Yeah, I knew Tom and Doris a couple of years back. Haven't seen much of them lately.
When was the last time you saw them?
Let's see, must be 2-3 months anyway. Anything wrong?
Well, do you know where we could locate them?
I don't know for sure. Last time I saw them, they were at a hotel downtown in South Grand, I think. You know, South Grand right near Pico.
We have no idea where they moved when they left there.
No, I didn't even know they'd moved.
They haven't phoned or contacted you at all in the last month or so?
No, not a word. They're not in a jam again, are they?
We'd like to talk to them, that's all. Would you know of any of their favorite spots around town, eating, drinking places?
No, I don't think I could say. They got around quite a bit. You checked with some of their other friends around town, the Pattons, the Thompsons, Mike Runyon?
What was that last one?
Mike Runyon. Very good friend of the Herberts.
Ben? No, I don't recall the name. Well, how could we get in touch with this Runyon, Mr. Harris?
He's got a phone. Come on in the office. We'll call him if you like.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I'll get Mike on the line for you, introduce you.
Would you mind talking to him, Harris? Don't tell him it's for us. Just ask if he knows where the Herberts are. Would you mind?
Yeah, all right. No answer. Maybe. Hello, Mike? Clyde Harris, Mike. Yeah, how are you? Fine. Fine? Yeah, long time. Say, Mike, you any idea where Tom and Doris Herbert are? Mm-hmm. Is that right? How about that, huh? How you doing? No, that's okay. It's not important. Sure thing, Mike. Make it soon, huh? Right. Goodbye.
Yeah?
No, he doesn't know where the Herberts are staying. Saw him a week ago out in Hollywood, though. Says they're doing fine.
How do you mean?
Ran into him outside that big church on Hollywood Boulevard. They told Mike all about it. They really got religion.
That's so?
Yeah. They're even writing a book about the church.
We called back Mike Runyon, a friend of the suspect, and he gave us the location of the church where he'd seen Mr. and Mrs. Herbert. Ben and I drove out there and talked to the pastor, Reverend John Kenworth. We showed him the Herberts' mugshots, and he identified them. They were going under the name of Williams, and supposedly they were writing a book about the history of the church. To cover publishing expenses and research, more than $1,000 from parish contributions had been placed in a separate account at a local bank. Reverend Kenworth told us that it was a special joint account, and the Herberts had access to it. Ben got on the phone and called the bank.
How's that? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Uh-huh. Yeah, all right, thank you.
What'd they say?
The two of them were in the bank yesterday. They didn't draw out everything.
How much did they leave?
$3.
Ben and I checked with the teller at the bank and showed him mugshots of Mr. and Mrs. Herbert. He identified them as the couple who'd withdrawn the church funds. We went to the hotel address the suspects had given to Reverend Kenworth. They'd checked out 2 days before. The search went on. 2 weeks passed. We ran out of leads. No further reports on the couple. A month went by. Tuesday, May 23rd, we got an APB from San Francisco on a couple answering the Herberts' description. They were still working the church angle. During the next 6 weeks, we got reports on them from Washington, Oregon, Nevada, and Northern California. In Sacramento, they apparently changed their M.O. for the first time. They started selling phony health insurance policies. They promised everything, and they had a lot of takers. One of the big selling points was a clause which promised full protection if anybody in the family should come down with polio. From Sacramento, they headed south to Oakland and then to Fresno. On July 10th, the complaints started to come in, and we knew the Herberts had moved into Los Angeles with their health insurance racket. One of the first victims was a Carl Fogarty. He lived out in the Westlake area.
There's a policy they gave me, Sergeant. Apex Health Insurance. Not worth the paper it's printed on.
When did they sell you this, Mr. Fogarty? You remember?
3 weeks ago, I guess. Never would have known it was phony if my boy hadn't come down with polio.
How's he getting along?
Not too good. Right leg. He's got it bad there. It's not as if we don't have enough grief. We got to lose out on this bum insurance.
You mind if I take a look at that policy, sir?
No. Go ahead. Here you are.
Thank you.
Yeah, same outfit, Joe. Apex Health Insurance. Same phony address.
Yeah. Would you remember the man who sold you this, do you think?
I think I would, yeah.
I wonder if you'd mind looking through these pictures, Mr. Fogarty?
Mm-hmm. Not at all.
Just look at them carefully, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this one. That's him. I remember. Who's he?
His name's Herbert. When he came in to sell you this policy, was he alone?
Yeah, he was. Had a real good sales talk.
How much did you pay for the insurance?
Let me see. $43 and some odd cents. I remember that because I cashed in a war bond, and then I took $5 out of the rent money.
Outside of this policy here, you have no other papers that the man might have given you?
No, nothing but this business card here. He gave me that. You see here, the same name, Apex Health Insurance.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Fogarty. We hope your little boy pulls out of it all right.
Yeah, thanks.
Here's our card, sir. If there's anything we can do, give us a call.
Sure, okay.
About time we check the office, huh?
I think so. Do you have a phone here, Mr. Fogarty?
Oh, yeah, Sergeant. Straight back in the hall there. Help yourself.
Thank you very much. $2572. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Fred. Joe Friday. Anything for us in the book? West 7th. Yeah, okay. Right. Thanks, Fred.
Anything doing?
It looks pretty good. Office got a call from a printing shop out on West 7th. The manager's got an order he's not too sure about.
How do you mean?
It's for a batch of letterhead stationery, business cards.
Yeah? For who?
Apex Health Insurance.
You are listening to Dragnet for the step-by-step solution to tonight's authentic case history.
Here, step by step, are the actual reasons why Fatima is the quality king-size cigarette. Why in Fatima the difference is quality.
Quality of tobaccos. The finest domestic and Turkish varieties, extra mild and superbly blended to give you a much different, much better flavor and aroma.
Quality of manufacture. Smooth, round, perfect cigarettes. Rolled in the finest paper money can buy. Manufactured in the newest and most modern of all cigarette factories.
Quality even to the appearance of the bright, clean, golden yellow package. Carefully wrapped and sealed to bring you Fatima's rich, fresh, extra mild flavor.
Compare Fatima yourself. Fatimas now cost the same as other long cigarettes. What your first puff will tell you.
Ah, that's different.
Yes, in Fatima, the difference is quality. Insist on Fatima. Start enjoying the quality king-size cigarette. Fatima. Best of all long cigarettes.
Wednesday, July 10th, 4 p.m. Ben and I drove back downtown to the printing shop on West 7th Street and talked with the manager. He told us that the order for stationery and business cards for the Apex Health Insurance Company had been placed 2 days before. He said he'd become suspicious after reading a story in one of the newspapers about the polio insurance fraud. He also said that the customer who'd ordered the stuff was a woman. She told him that she would call and pick up the order on Friday. We showed the manager a handful of mug shots. He could give us only a partial identification of Mrs. Herbert's picture. We called the office, told them we were going on stakeout, and arranged for a relief. Ben and I spent the rest of Wednesday and all day Thursday and Friday in the rear of the print shop, where we could keep an eye on everyone entering the place. Friday, 6 p.m. No sign of the Herberts. Not a trace. Saturday, the same. No sign of either one of them. Monday, more waiting. The suspect stayed away. Tuesday, 3:30 p.m. I went out the rear door, went down the street and got some cigarettes, and then I headed back for the print shop.
Ben? Keep your coat on, Joe. Just called the office for a relief.
Why, what's doing?
That Clyde Harris, friend of the Herberts, the guy who runs the physical culture school.
Yeah, what about him?
He called the office, wanted to talk to us. I phoned him out there at the gym.
Yeah?
He told me he was out drinking last night, and he met Mrs. Herbert at a bar. She was alone.
Did he tell you where to find her?
The Greenwood Apartments, 603.
When the relief men arrived, Ben and I left and drove across town to the Greenwood Apartments on Taylor Street. It was a 3-story frame building set back from the sidewalk behind a sloping lawn lined with a box hedge. We checked the names on the mailboxes. The name T.J. Bronson was listed for apartment 603. We rang, but there was no answer.
Better try the manager, huh?
Yeah.
It's a nice place. The insurance racket must be paying off for him.
Here we go.
Can I help you?
Yes, sir. You the manager here?
That's right. Thatcher's my name. Can I help you?
Police officers, Mr. Thatcher. We're trying to locate the people in 603.
Oh, that crazy woman tried to blow up the place last night.
Why, what do you mean?
Mrs. Bronson, she came in drunk about 2 a.m. No sense at all. About 3 a.m., the folks in 601 called me and they said they smelled gas. I went up there and found her in the kitchenette. Out like a light gas stove turned on, going full blast. Crazy.
Where's her husband?
Couldn't say, chasing around again, I think. Hadn't been home in a week. Lucky I got to that gas before somebody lit a match.
You said it happened about 3 this morning?
That's right. A crazy woman. She'll be all right, though.
Where's she now, do you know?
Yeah, County Hospital.
4:25 p.m. Ben and I got in touch with the office and arranged for a stakeout at the Herberts' apartment. We called homicide and checked on the attempt suicide report. They informed us that the woman had been taken to the psycho ward, County Hospital. We went over to the hospital, checked at the main desk, and identified ourselves. The nurse on duty had us shown to the ward where the suspect, Doris Herbert, was confined. She was a halfway attractive woman in her late 40s. Short, bleach blonde hair, dark eyes with deep circles under them. She turned and looked up as we stopped beside her bed.
Excuse me. You Doris Herbert? Is your name Doris Herbert?
What do you want?
Police officers would like to talk to you for a minute.
I knew you'd be around. I don't care.
Ma'am?
I'm sick of it. I'm sick of the whole rotten thing. I knew you'd come.
We just have a few questions, ma'am. It won't take long.
Go ahead. I don't care. Did you find him yet?
You mean your husband?
He's not my husband. Not anymore. Him and that cheap girl behind my back sneaking around. 20 years we've been happy, and he throws me away.
Where's your husband now, Miss Herbert?
With her. He's been with her a week. He doesn't even care I'm here. 20 years ago he cared. I found him and taught him something. I taught him everything he knows.
This girl that your husband's with, where does she stay, do you know?
Yeah, an apartment. It's on Franklin, right on the corner of Franklin and Laurel. You were close, weren't you? You knew it was us.
What's this girl's name?
Marie Daly. I saw her with him. Tell me something.
Yeah.
You know it was us, Tom and me, the insurance?
Yeah, we knew it was you.
I didn't like it. It wasn't a clean game. Tom's idea. We made money, but I didn't like it. It wasn't clean.
All right, Miss Herbert, we'll talk to you later.
No, not me. I'm going to die. I'm going to die and forget all about it. You just be sure and get him, won't you, Tom? I tell him everything he knows. Get him.
You're sure about the address?
Yeah, I'm sure. Tell me something. Why do you have to do it to me? Throwing me away, lying, taking that cheap girl. Why'd you do it to me?
Well, you ought to have an idea.
Huh?
You taught him everything he knows. Before we left the hospital, we made arrangements to have Doris Herbert transferred to the prison ward. 5 p.m., we drove out to the apartment house at Franklin and Laurel and checked with the landlady. She told us that Tom Herbert's girlfriend, Marie Daly, had checked out of her apartment the day before. She said the Daly girl had a middle-aged man with her. We showed the landlady Herbert's mugshot, and she identified him as that man. She had no forwarding address on her, but she did remember the name of the express truck that called to pick up the Daily Girl's baggage. We checked with the express company and found that the trunks had been taken to the Lockheed Air Terminal. We started calling the airlines. 6:30 p.m. We finally got a report that a man answering Tom Herbert's description had booked passage for two on a flight to Mexico City. The plane was scheduled to leave at 8:35 that night. Ben and I drove out to the airport and went on stakeout. 8:15 p.m. We waited. 8:20. No sign of them.
United Airlines mainliner flight 649 from Denver and intermediate cities. Now
getting a little late, huh? Yeah, it's 8:24. They're cutting it close.
Going in the bar, Joe. Take a look.
Yeah, that's them. Let's go.
Not hard to spot. What's the matter with the girl?
Looks pretty drunk. All right, come on.
Bourbon and water, huh, Marie? Is that what you want?
Bourbon and water, yeah.
Haven't got much time. We don't want to miss that plane.
We won't miss it.
You, Tom Herbert?
Yes, what is it?
Police officers like to talk to you downtown.
Just a minute. This must be some kind of mistake.
No mistake, Herbert. We talked to your wife. Let's go.
What is it, Tom? What do they want?
Nothing. It's a mistake. Now, look, officers, I don't know what this is all about, but we have to get a plane. The 8:35. I can't go downtown with you. Can't we talk it over here? I'm sure we can straighten this out.
Your wife copped out, Herbert. Now, let's make it easy, huh?
Come on, lady.
What's he talking about, Tom? A wife? What does he mean?
I told you it's a mistake. Now, be reasonable, huh, officer? All we want to do is take a trip. We've been planning on this. New clothes, new luggage.
Here's your hat. Our car's outside.
It's a mistake. You can't do this. We planned on it. We've been waiting a long time for this.
Yes, sir. So have we. Come on, let's go.
The story you have just heard was true. Only the names were changed to protect the innocent.
On October 28th, trial was held in Superior Court, Department 88, City and County of Los Angeles, State of California. In a moment, the results of that trial.
Now, here is our star, Jack Webb.
Thank you. Friends, each week we're honored with letters from listeners all over the country. Letters telling us that you've bought Fatimas and you find them the best of all long cigarettes. Well, thanks to you and the many thousands of other smokers who have switched to Fatimas, I'm happy to report that more people are now enjoying Fatimas than ever before. January sales figures just released show that in the East, Fatima sales are up 56%. In the Middle West, sales up 133%. And here on the coast, Fatima shows an increase of 68%. Well, that means Fatima sales are up nearly 70% all over the country. Now, if you haven't yet discovered Fatima's much different, much better flavor and aroma, I suggest that you buy a pack tomorrow. When you do, I'm convinced you'll agree with Fatima smokers everywhere. In Fatima, the difference is quality.
Mr. and Mrs. Tom Herbert were tried and convicted on several counts of grand theft. They are now confined in the state penitentiary for the term prescribed by law. Grand theft is punishable by confinement for not less than 1 nor more than 10 years. You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of all long cigarettes, has brought you Dragnet, portions transcribed from Los Angeles.
David Harding, Counter Spy, solves an exciting case next on NBC.
My name's Regan. I get 10 a day in expenses from a detective bureau run by a guy named Anthony J. Lyon. They call me the Lion's Eye.
Jack Webb is Jeff Regan, Investigator, as CBS offers you hard-boiled action and mystery and thrilling adventure in tonight's story of The Lady with Too Much Hair.
It's Suite 308 in the Cosmopolitan Building on 7th near Olive. The letters on the door say International Detective Bureau, Anthony J. Lyon, President. They used to be in gold, but the Lion scraped them off one day and made some kind of a deal with Fort Knox. Oh, it isn't much of an office. One room, the size of a cigar box, and it smells about the same. There's an overstuffed chair in one corner with a loose spring that's a menace. Right over it, there's a crack in the ceiling. But the Lion doesn't seem to mind. He says the place is rigged for comfort. Well, that's where I was at 5:25 last Wednesday night. The Lion was sitting behind the desk looking at himself in a mirror. What he saw should have scared him. A pair of shoe-button eyes mounted in a head like a Spanish onion.
You know, Regan, I don't feel like I used to.
Neither do the Republicans.
I think I've got that middle-aged look.
Just the spread.
It's getting a little scarce on top.
Change your shampoo.
I shouldn't be getting bald at my age. I'm only 39.
Your addition's kind of bad, isn't it?
I guess it's because I got so much worry. Running this business takes a lot out of a man.
Takes more out of your clients.
They get good service at reasonable rates.
Well, I've heard the commercial.
Regan, cancel all arrangements for tonight. You're going to be busy.
Doing what?
That's the trouble with you, young man. Too hasty. Learn how to relax, like me.
Tell that to your ulcer.
Ever hear of a lady named Hazel Carr?
No.
Well, you're going to. She's a businesswoman, and we got business with her.
What kind?
Later.
When?
Anthony J. Lyon, International Detective. Yeah. 1302 Beechwood. Right away, Mrs. Carr. Okay, there's the kickoff, Regan.
Who's playing?
You and a red-headed guy. Hop over to this address and hide behind a tree or something.
I forgot my beard.
You'll see a red-headed guy coming out of the house in about 45 minutes. Get a real good look at him.
Why?
He's the guy you're going to study so you'll know him anytime you see him.
Where does Hazel Carr fit?
She's inside the house. After you spot the guy, go in and see her.
Fill in the rest.
She'll give you all you got to know. Now get moving and stay on the ball.
I work for you. How can I get off? Well, I left the Lion sitting there, and I drove out to the Beechwood address. It turned out to be a corner house stuck on the top of a hill, and it figured a good rain would wash it down the drain. Well, I parked across the street and lit a cigarette. Watched a kid on a bicycle throwing newspapers. His aim was real good. He got them all on the roof. I watched him finish the block, and that's when my knee action began to suffer. A heavy guy in a trench coat had his foot on my running board. He had a big face, and he turned it sideways and stuck it in the window.
What's the matter, buddy? Out of gas?
No, my foot fell asleep.
Oh. How about a light? Want a light?
Got one.
Okay. Out of fluid, anyway.
Well, pull your head out of here before you lose it.
It's all right. I always carry a spare.
Come on, beat it, Buster. You spoil my view.
Oh. Peeking, huh?
Maybe.
You say maybe. I say yes.
All right, what do you want?
Same as you. You're looking. I'm looking.
Whose side you on?
Depends.
On what?
Whose side you're on.
See ya. That was when the front door of the Carr house opened and 6 feet of pinstripe gray came out on the sidewalk. His 200 pounds was topped off with a bush of red hair, and he had a face to match. It had a flushed look, like a high school boy at a burlesque show. He started down the street. The guy in the trench coat crossed over to the other side and moved after him, kind of slow. Then they disappeared around the corner. Well, he was playing his hand, I was playing mine. I climbed out of my car and walked up to the door of the Carr place. The bell sounded like something that should have been in Buckingham, but the woman who answered wasn't any queen.
Yes?
My name's Regan, International Detective Bureau.
Oh, Lion's Eye. Please come in, Mr. Regan. I'm Hazel Carr.
All right.
You saw him, I suppose.
The redhead?
Rather large, isn't he?
The Dons are missing a bet.
Sit down, Mr. Regan. May I offer you something?
I'll try a story.
We'll get to that in a moment.
What's wrong with right now?
We have other things to discuss. You have a dark suit, I suppose?
Yeah, I got it on.
Well, get it pressed. You're going out tonight, Mr. Regan.
I'm already booked.
Then disappointed. You see, from now on, you're working for me.
Come on, strike a match, lady. I don't like the dark.
You're going to meet the 7:10 at the Union Station. My daughter Phyllis is coming in. She's been at an Eastern school getting finished.
How'd she turn out?
Just a vacation. She's dying to see Hollywood. She should have a young man.
Well, I'm no escort bureau.
I want more than an escort for Phyllis. I want a man with authority.
She play that rough?
That redhead you saw. He thinks he's in love with her.
We all make mistakes.
But he's impetuous. Follows her all over. He even threatened her. He says he'll kill her and himself if she doesn't marry him.
Well, either way, he loses.
I don't care about him. It's Phyllis that worries me. She's so young.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want her to know that things are so bad she needs protection. You must remember that.
Maybe she'll figure it out herself.
Don't let her. Anyway, I've wired her that a young man was going to meet her at the train to show her around. A nice young man. Can you act the part?
I'll try.
I'll see that you do.
Who's that boy out in front in the trench coat?
I don't know what you mean.
Okay. Anything else?
I've made your reservations for dinner dancing at the Grove, and I'll show her a good time.
You're paying the bills.
And keep her occupied until I figure out a way to get rid of that redhead.
Murder might work.
Think about it. Call me after you pick her up.
Sure.
Now, you better go.
Okay.
Oh, Mr. Regan.
Yeah?
Here.
What's this?
Emily Post. Read up on your manners.
Well, I figured she wasn't telling everything, but it was her play. I headed for my place to clean up before meeting the train, and it took a little time bucking traffic on Franklin. At Gower, I played tag with the truck driver, trying hard to crease my fenders. It was about 6:15 when I pulled to a stop in front of my apartment. When I opened the door, I smelled cigar smoke. Somebody was over for a slumber party. A short, stocky guy with a stub crammed in his face was sleeping on the bed. He must have been having a real good dream, because he was tough to wake up. Hey, come on, buddy, hey. Come on, the alarm just went off.
Huh? Oh, hiya, Regan. Guess I dozed off waiting for you.
Pajamas in the top drawer.
How are you? Like to scratch. Look, kind of late last night.
You should have stayed home today.
Had to see you.
What for?
Oh, you know what's a pretty crummy mattress you got?
Well, I'll put in for a beauty rest.
Yeah. Do that, Regan.
All right, punk, let's get to it.
Ease off, Pilgrim. I'm still shaking the sand out.
Well, get up and start talking.
Easy. Name's Mo. I'm a friend.
Convince me.
I'm going to. Hey, you got something to drink around?
Maybe after the talk.
Like that?
Who sent you?
Your insurance company.
I'm paid up.
I'm not in the collection department.
What else they got?
Friendly service, goodwill. Getting close to Christmas.
Yeah, I'll send you a card.
Don't want no card. Just want the pleasure of knowing I did you a service.
Name the kind.
Guys going to meet trains have accidents sometimes.
Santa Fe's not going to like you.
But I figure you will. Tipping you how to stay healthy.
My doctor tells me vitamins.
Mo says it's a wrong dope. Skip the train and take in a show.
I don't like popcorn.
It'd pay you to learn.
You want to tell me why?
You got enough. How about that drink, friend?
You didn't earn it.
Suit yourself, Peter. But being nice is really a knack with me. I'm pretty nasty.
That won't get you an argument.
I'd even hit a guy 2 feet shorter than me.
Yeah, I'm turning pale.
That's a good color for you, Regan. Stay that way.
He chewed on the cigar a couple of times, and then he went out to find a spittoon. Oh, the whole thing had a crummy look, like a box of stale crackers. I tried to figure whether he was working for the redhead or grubbing around on his own, but not enough scenes were in to make it a full picture. Well, the car woman was writing the checks, and I was still trying. So I cleaned up, threw on some fresh clothes, and made it to the Union Station a little after 7. The super chief was just coming in. The station master, who walked with a slight lisp, took her name and said he'd bring her to me. And then I fought my way to the restaurant, and the waiter brought me a cup of coffee. He was a skinny little guy with a lot of neck muscles. I guess he got that way from talking so much.
Are you going someplace, mister?
Just been.
Oh, you have fun?
It wasn't bad.
Sugar?
No, thanks.
Yeah, that's no good for you anyway. Gives you diabetes. You know, mister, I gotta go someplace myself sometime.
I got a suggestion.
I've been working here 12 years, yeah. People come, people go. Pete Broidy stays on forever. Hey, cream?
No.
That's just as well it's sour. You know the farthest place I ever go, mister? That first door to the right.
Are you Mr. Regan?
Yeah.
I believe you're waiting for me.
You got a name?
Phyllis Carr.
That'll do.
Oh, but darling, aren't you going to ask me to sit down?
You can handle that yourself.
Thank you.
Where's your baggage?
We'll have to pick it up.
Are you going someplace, lady?
I just got in.
I've been figuring on going someplace myself. I was just telling your friend here.
Get us some coffee.
But I...
Get it.
Okay. I'm just being friendly.
Yeah, I'm going to adore it here. Town full of mashers.
You'll get along.
I'm much older than I look, you know.
Carry a sign.
Well, you don't seem very happy with me. I'm dreadfully sorry. You're much better than I expected.
Your mother thought different.
Oh, she's a dear. I thought at first she might pick me one of those children from UCLA.
They'll grow up.
But, darling, who can wait that long? I want to have fun while I'm young.
What kind of school do you go to?
All girls.
Well, that explains a little.
And it's very progressive.
Here's your coffee, lady.
Oh, thank you so much.
Don't mention it, lady. Yeah, like I was telling your friend here before.
Where are you going, Mr. Regan?
I figured on going...
No, not you. Me. Me.
Oh.
To phone your mother.
Say hello to the dear for me.
I'm going to say a lot more. Now, you sit right there till I get back.
Oh, whatever you say, darling. I'll be making myself more beautiful.
Save that for the redhead.
Where'd you hear about him?
News gets around.
You're more my type.
Now, you better settle for UCLA. You don't want to wind up an old maid. Well, it wasn't appealing. Nursemaid to a junior miss, trying hard to work up a sweat. The curtain wasn't down, but I was ready to call off the show. I scratched around for a nickel, and I found the phone booth between the newsstand and a broom closet. There was some old gal inside with a waffle for a hat having a private filibuster. When she finished, I went in and started to dial Hazel Carr. That's when I spotted that redhead in the pinstripe working his way through the crowd. He had an eager look, like an English setter flushing quail. I threw the receiver back on the hook and started for Phyllis. As soon as I stepped out of the booth, the thunder broke. Somebody threw 2 slugs into the redhead and his light went out. The crowd began to gather, so I went back for Phyllis. It was hard going. I was moving against the grain.
Hey, boy, how are you going? What? I heard a shot just come out.
Look out. Hey, you.
Some excitement outside, hey, mister?
Call homicide.
I've been working here 12 years, seen a lot of things.
Where'd you go?
One day a whack chased the major all over the place.
Listen.
Hey.
Now, listen. That blonde sitting over in the corner with a high meter reading. Where'd she go?
You're spilling the cork.
Now see what you've done. What happened to her?
Leave me alone.
Give it to me.
She went out.
When?
Well, just after you did.
Before or after the shot?
I don't remember.
Well, think.
Before. Yeah, before. I remember watching the way she walked.
She get a date?
She tried, but she said she was going steady with a red-headed guy.
Well, things weren't going to get any better at the Union Station. Homicide would be down there scratching around. So I used the back door of the restaurant, picked up my car, and went out to the Lions. When he opened the front door, he had a bottle of beer in one hand and a chicken sandwich in the other. He looked unhappy, like a beaver with a loose tooth.
Regan, where you been? I've been looking all over for you.
Did you try missing persons?
Called your place 3 times, nobody answered.
You knew I was working.
That's what I called you about. I got something to tell you.
Well, wait your turn.
What's the matter with you? In trouble again?
No, you are, big shot. Another bum client.
International detective never had a bum client.
Well, those 2 women just spoiled your record.
You've been drinking.
You better call homicide and get us off that hook and then turn back Carr's retainer.
Regan, what are you saying?
You heard me.
But it's unethical to return money. When Anthony J.
Oh,
Lyons
stop
gets
it, will you?
word...
You quit giving blood when you find out somebody'd pay for it.
You're out of line.
Every time you cut yourself, you make a beeline for the Red Cross to get it back.
International detectives under obligation to Mrs. Carr, and we're going to see it through.
All right. You hold her hand in the gas chamber.
What does that mean?
That's where she's going to be after the police get through.
What happened?
That redhead got himself a free ride to the morgue. It looks like her daughter, Phyllis Carr, called the play.
You're out of your mind. Look at this telegram.
Let me see.
It's from Phyllis Carr in New York. She just ran away from school with a Princeton man.
You are listening to the story of the lady with too much hair. Tonight's adventure with Jeff Regan, the investigator. Commissions are still available in the Army Nurse Corps. Graduate registered nurses between the ages of 21 and 45 may qualify for service with this fine organization. Nurses may request active or inactive status. Those on active status enjoy the same privileges as regular Army officers. Those on inactive status may continue their civilian nursing duties, but stand ready to serve in time of emergency. If you are interested in joining the Army Nurse Corps and believe you qualify for a commission, apply to the Adjutant General, Washington, D.C. And now, back to Jeff Regan, Investigator, and the story of the lady with too much hair.
Well, it all made sense like a girdle on a Siamese twin. Started out with a redhead and a pinstripe and wound up a nursemaid job with a girl named Phyllis. While I'm in a phone booth, somebody throws a couple of sleeping pills at the redheaded guy. The smoke cleared, and Red's doing the big sleep in Union Station, and my date's somewhere else. The Lion makes it a Sunday special with a telegram that says everything is off. Well, it didn't take 20/20 vision to see that the girl in the station was a substitute or the telegram was a phony. Well, it was easy to figure my next move. I went across the street, and I found a booth way over in the corner. I was 2 drinks into the house when the skinny guy in the trench coat eased down beside me.
Hi, Regan. Think it'll help?
You get around.
So do you.
Still following people?
I gave up. You?
You got something to say?
Oh, I'm just here for a friendly drink.
Try the bartender.
I like conversation.
What kind?
All kinds. Bourbon and water. Now, don't look so worried, Regan. I'll pay for my own.
You gonna make a night of it?
I can't. Got things to do. Gotta find a man who shot a man.
What man?
The one I followed. The one you watched. Any idea?
Yeah.
Who?
You.
Bum joke, Regan.
Well, why'd you follow him?
My business. Besides, I lost him in a traffic jam.
Here you are, Minnie.
Thanks. Well, here's to the newspapers. Seen this one yet with pictures? All about our friend. Fine murder story.
No, I work the crosswords.
Oh, give me crime and lots of it. You know why?
No, tell me why.
It's sin, and sin is here to stay.
All right, you said your piece.
Unknown assailant fires 2 shots into traveler at Union Station. Listening?
It's an old story.
Think so?
He got his red hair dirty on the floor.
Wrong caper.
Well, I'll catch up later.
This guy was different.
How?
Bald, like a boiled egg.
Crazy, give me that.
See what I mean? The guy in the picture ain't got red hair, got no hair.
What's your angle, Buster?
Like I said, I read papers. Why?
I thought maybe you belonged to the Barbers Union. Well, it turned out to be an even trade. I took his newspaper, and he got my ice and the drink. Well, I went back to the office and sat down and tried to figure it out. It was all crazy, like an Eskimo with a popsicle. I started by calling Hazel Carr's house, but the nickel came back. The phone book gave a business address, so I drove out there. It was a pink stucco job out on Olympic, right after you pass Redondo. A red neon sign told you that Hazel Carr Incorporated specialized in hair pieces. Nobody answered up front, so I slipped around to the back door. The door opened into a workroom. I scratched a match. Somebody had been looking for something, and it wasn't dandruff. Every wig in the place was torn apart. It was just about then that I heard a step, and then a flashlight jumped out at me, and I smelled a cigar. It was Mo.
Hi, Regan.
Well, sleeping beauty.
I'm awake this time.
I'm impressed. Tell me more.
Stand still, Regan. This alarm clock goes off.
It's already rung.
I didn't do it.
Body in Union Station? Chamber of Commerce gets upset.
I'm from Florida.
Figure to bring up the orange crop?
Didn't do this either.
Spit out the seeds.
Regan, you're not friendly.
You got here first.
I'm here all the time.
No, you're trying too hard, Mo.
I work here. It's a serious business. We make billiard balls happy.
All right, so you work for Hazel Carr. Say something with hormones.
You're learning nothing that's not in the trades.
Why'd you snatch the redhead's toupee?
You make me tired of saying I didn't.
Couldn't meet his installments?
Look out, you'll get credit.
What's in that toupee?
Ask enough questions, Regan.
Relax, buddy. You'll burn out your coils.
You're in the way. I told you once.
I was born on the second honeymoon.
Well, happy birthday, Junior.
Oh! was lying face down in a pile of Santa Claus beards and yak tails. When I rolled over, there was the lion. He was shaking like a polar bear in a French bathing suit.
Wake up, Regan, wake up. I could hire a detective for the price of you.
Get a midget and he'd starve to death.
We got a client. She needs you.
What are you, Silent Arrow?
I'm a nursemaid with you around. She called the office.
Gonna have another daughter?
I told you it's legitimate. She didn't know nothing about the phony.
Where is she now?
1629 Locust Avenue. Why?
She's in the middle of a smuggle.
You sure?
It adds up.
She pays the bill. She's straight.
How'd you meet her in the first place?
I got a right to a private life.
Not at your age. Oh, I left the lion standing here and I climbed in my car. I made a couple of right turns in the wrong zone, but I found the address all right. 1629 turned out to be a two-story Monterey number in the middle of what looked like a golf course. Hazel Carr owned this place, too. She must have been selling toupees to Crosby's whole stable. I parked the car and I headed for the lights that were on downstairs. I took the front steps two at a time. Well.
Wow. If it isn't UCLA.
I just got in from Berkeley.
Oh, don't be bitter.
I'm not. Where you been?
Jealous?
You're fickle.
Just when I'm in college.
Lucky student body.
I didn't know you noticed.
Well, skip it. It was a lousy act anyway.
Good enough to fool you. Going somewhere?
I got a date.
If it's with Mrs. Carr, don't bother. I sent for you.
You better try again.
Your boss just got a phone call. Well, if I put on one act, I can put on another, can't I?
You didn't kill Red.
It's not important.
Yes, it is. Come on back inside. We're going to have a threesome.
I like it better at the zebra room. You could find a dark place.
That'll come later.
I'm leaving.
No, you're not. Inside, sis.
You don't have to coax me.
Where is she? Mrs. Carr.
Look, it wasn't me. She's been dead a long time.
So's your alibi.
I've only been here for 5 minutes.
You're lying.
I'll make you listen to me.
Look out. Drop it. You pick up that gun and I'll break you in two.
Oh, stop it. Get me a drink. Some over there.
All right.
Look, I didn't kill him. Not either one of them.
Sure.
You don't believe anything.
Depends on the source. Here, this will slow you down.
Thanks.
All right, now let's start talking.
You got me into it.
Mo?
Maybe.
Say yes.
Don't be personal.
You get me out of the way so he can plug the redhead and snatch the toupee.
Mo's impulsive. That's all. Forget about him.
But the toupee was empty, so the two of you have to scratch around some other places for it.
Shall I run my fingers through your hair?
Let's stick to the subject.
I wish you would.
Did the redhead know he was carrying an empty load?
Nobody did, except Mrs. Carr.
It was a smuggle, and she was holding out.
It's a mistake for a woman, don't you think?
They had a trio, and she wanted to sing solo.
The boys weren't smart like you are.
Maybe she was worried about her daughter. Maybe she wanted to go straight, and the boys didn't want her to.
You're wasting our time. Let me show you where I fit in.
No, you're on the wrong floor.
There's a way to fix everything.
You're an accessory.
I can become essential.
You'd get lipstick on my expense account.
Come here.
I'll break it up, baby. You scratched around every place. You still can't find the goods.
I think I found it.
You figure the old lady used me as a safe deposit box?
Where else could it be?
All right, supposing I got it. What next?
Do I have to draw a diagram? We might as well be realistic about this thing.
What's it worth?
$50,000 of the white stuff.
I don't like to dream.
You look like you could use one. I'm extra.
Meet the contract there.
Oh,
yeah, this act figured to do it.
Mo.
You had a good memory.
Mo, baby.
Skip it. Stand still, Pilgrim.
I was trying to get it from
I heard the song. That Regan might like to hear the chorus.
Oh. Mr. Bed, Regan. You should grab an offer when it's hot.
Don't be sad, Pilgrim. She smiled at all the boys. Come on, let's get out of here. You'll look better with slow paralysis.
Well, I had about as much chance as a clean towel in a boarding house. When the muscle said move, I had to be polite. I guess he figured the car place was too crowded and he wanted new scenery. Well, we went out to the street, and he steered me for his car. It was a black job with white sidewalls, and there were 2 suitcases in the back seat. But all his bags weren't packed. He was missing a small package, and he had the idea it was over at my place. When we got there, it was about midnight, but it wasn't too late for him to go to work.
Now, isn't this better, Regan? Home sweet home.
I never liked it anyway.
Move.
I got a lease.
Those things can be broken. Want me to show you how?
No, I'll struggle along.
You make things hard on yourself. Now do something the easy way. Get me the stuff.
You're wasting your time.
I got lots of it. You ain't.
Well, I haven't got it.
Mo thinks you have.
Well, then he's pretty dumb.
That's on account I don't like your choice of words.
Buy me a dictionary.
You're going to get yourself 2 big holes in your middle if you don't lay that stuff in my hand.
Sorry I had to do that to him, Regan.
I forgive you.
I just came up to get my newspaper back, and he was acting nasty.
The little guy in the bar.
My boss doesn't like it when I shoot people.
Uncle Sam, huh?
Mm-hmm. Narcotics. I tried to tip you off before, but you weren't listening.
Somebody should have tipped Mo.
Weren't you watching? I just did.
Well, it was all over fast, like a short beer in a cheap saloon. They took him away in a basket, and all I had left was a spot on the rug. They had a good thing until Hazel Carr got anxious and decided to pull out. Only she wanted to be clean and have the stuff, too. That's what started the scavenger hunt. The only thing straight in the whole corkscrew was the part about the daughter needing protection. But I guess she got it back at Princeton. The stuff? Oh, it finally turned up. Hazel Carr had found herself a good place to hide it. The Fed spotted it the first thing the next morning when he saw the lion. How could he miss? The lion looked awful in that red toupee.
Jack Webb is featured as Jeff Regan with Herb Butterfield as Anthony J. Lyon. It's CBS at the same time next week for more hard-boiled action and mystery with Jeff Regan, Investigator. Written by Larry Roman and Jackson Gillis. Produced by Sterling Tracy. Included in tonight's cast were Mary Lansing, Ken Christie, Sidney Miller, Lorette Tilbrandt, and Ed Barrier. 29,000 nurses are needed to join the new Army Nurse Corps Officers Reserve. For the first time in history, qualified nurses have the opportunity of receiving commissions in the regular Army Reserve. These nurses will remain on inactive status, ready to serve their country in time of emergency. 4,000 of them, if they wish, may choose active duty. All nurses who receive commissions will benefit from the opportunity for specialized training offered to them by the Army. Inactive reserve status will not interfere with the nurse's civilian life. If you're a registered graduate nurse between the ages of 21 and 45, drop a card to the Adjutant General, Washington, D.C. Original music for this program is by Milton Charles. Bob Stevenson speaking. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting.
Documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It's Tuesday, December 2nd. It's chilly in Los Angeles. We were working a day watch at a robbery detail. My partner's Ben Romero. The boss is Captain Gideon. My name's Friday. It was 1:48 p.m. when I got to the basement of the city hall. The car came.
Yo, over here.
Yeah, right. Hi, Jim. This is from Douglas, is that right? Yeah. Better take Beverly Boulevard out, huh? Right. Want to get the radio? Yeah, all right. No report yet? No, he got away on foot. He headed down 6th Street after the holdup, lost himself in the crowd. Better watch it, then. Yeah. How'd the thief work it? Did you get the story? Well, there's not much to tell. He walked in the store at the right time, pointed a gun, grabbed a tray full of diamond rings, and walked out. $5,000. Figured he must have had the jewelry store pretty well cased. Sounds like he's had practice. Well, could be. But sure, one thing, he's well armed. You get it up, huh? Yeah.
Man with a gun. All units at 3rd and Victor, traffic accident, a man with a gun. Code green,
Well, if we can roll on it, huh? Right, that's big to get to him. Yeah, I'll call him. 80K to control 1. 80K to control 1.
Control 1, 30K, go ahead.
80K out for investigation. 3rd and Victor, 28267.
Roger, 80K, code 6 to 3rd and Victor, 28267.
That must be it up ahead, Joe. Yeah. Right in the middle of the intersection there, the car turned over, huh? Mm-hmm. That's all good? Yeah. Let's go. Man, stretched out on straight over there, straight. Yeah. I wonder if we can get through here, please. Excuse me, please. Let us through, please. Thanks. Well, let's don't just stand around looking. Did somebody call the police yet? Excuse me. Are you involved in this? Sure, I was in it. Did anybody call the police? What police officers? What happened? Oh, I'm too glad to see you. Awful lot of trouble. Yeah. How about this man here? What happened? Oh, I slugged him. I had to. What do you mean? Well, I don't know what happened. He went a little crazy, I guess. He pulled this gun on me. How is he, Jeff? Well, he's got a bump on the head. He seems to be all right otherwise. What's your name, sir? Andy Brooks. That truck over there, that's what I was driving. I was coming down 3rd Street, and I stopped at the red light over there. That corner over there? Yeah. And when the light turned green, I started across the intersection. This guy ran here, came barreling down Bixter, went right through the red light, hit the front of my truck. Flipped his car right over on the side, just like a kid. Yeah, go ahead. Well, the guy went a little crazy, I guess. Right after the crack-up, I pulled the truck to the curb and got out. This fellow here was just climbing out of the top side of his car. Didn't seem hurt at all. Yeah, well, when he saw me coming over to him, he pulled a gun and pointed it at me. Then he turned and started running. I couldn't figure it out. What'd you do? Well, as soon as he turned his back to run, I went for him and tackled him. Fought like a tiger. That's why I say I slugged him. I had to, officer. There's something awful funny about the whole thing. Lady, like that. Well, look here. There's spots right here. It fell out of his coat when I slugged him. You take a look. Yeah? Here. Must be 3-4 dozen in there. Rings, all kinds. Well, looks like diamonds in them, doesn't it? The ambulance arrived, and we took the unconscious fuel robbery suspect to Jersey City Receiving Hospital. After he was revived and treated for cuts and bruises, we took him back to the city hall at the interrogation room. He fitted the description of the jewelry store bandit almost exactly. He refused to talk. He wouldn't even give us his name. We had his fingerprints taken, and then we had them checked through R&I. The man was identified as Vernon Albert McCauley, an ex-convict out of Folsom and a 2-time loser. He served 1 5-year term for armed robbery and another 3 years for ADW. We checked out the wrecked car he'd been driving and found out that it had been stolen 2 blocks from the scene of the holdup. We had the manager of the jewelry store which had been robbed brought downtown. He identified McCauley as the bandit. The suspect still refused to talk. Ben and I took him to the main jail, where he was booked on suspicion of 211 DC. 4:15 p.m. We checked back in at the office. Takes some of them a long time to learn. Yeah, 2-time loser. This one ought to finish him. I can't figure. He's been out of Folsom 7 months and going right back in again. Yeah. We can get the complaint from the DA tomorrow and set the arraignment for Thursday.
Yeah. Maybe check with the manager of the jewelry store first. Wonder if McCauley could have been in on those gas station holdup, remember? Last month?
Yeah. Well, we'll have him in the show up Thursday and see what happens. You want to take care of your arrest report?
No, I'll get out an APB, too. Might turn up some outside jobs on him. I'm feeling hungry. You still got that candy bar from lunch?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, here you go. What's the matter with you lately, anyway?
I don't know. Been eating like a horse, down to town. Outside.
I'll get it.
What do you got, Joe?
It's me. Well, that does it.
What?
McCauley, he escaped. A broadcast and an all-points bulletin were gotten out on Vernon McCauley. All units in the vicinity of the escape were alerted. An hour passed. There was no report on the suspect. They checked with the main jail and got the details on the escape. They told us that while McCauley was being locked up in his cell, he pushed his fingers into the door jamb and had them badly mashed when the cell door closed on them. Both of McCauley's wrists were then handcuffed, and along with two other ailing suspects, he was taken over to Georgia Street Receiving Hospital by a pair of transportation officers. Going up the stairs to the hospital, McCauley had turned suddenly, kicked one of the officers in the stomach, slugged the other one, and escaped. It happened at about 4:14 p.m. By 11 o'clock that night, there wasn't a trace of the suspect. 7:30 the next morning, Ben and I checked back in for work. McCauley was still at large.
Overnight report, Joe. Have a look.
What do you got?
Yeah. Liquor store. Gas station. Another liquor store. All three of them held up between midnight and 2 a.m. Take a look at the bank description.
WMA, 5 feet 950 pounds. Medium build, dark hazel, hairy black eyes, fair complexion, deep scar on chin.
How about?
We didn't waste time getting started again, did we?
A pretty big come down if it's McCauley. Diamond theft the liquor store.
Well, he had to do something. He didn't have any clothes, no money. How about that car he used on those jobs?
Stolen. We covered early this morning. They're going over to print.
So now, Joe?
Really?
Get on this one right away, will you? Just that call a minute ago. What's that?
Here's the name and address. Matthew Hobbs, who runs a candy store near one of the grade schools over in Boyle Heights. He might be able to tell you something.
Yeah, about what?
McCauley. Saw him last night.
We got in the car and drove over to the Boyle Heights district where we located Matthew Hobbs' place of business. It was a small store on Delray Avenue, 1 block from the neighborhood grammar school. The sign out in front read, New Geneva Candy Parlor and Variety Store. There was the usual display in the window. A wind-up train, a few inexpensive dolls, pencils, writing tablets, and some crepe paper. Inside, the main attraction was 2 long showcases filled with a variety of penny candy. There was a small soda fountain at the rear of the store, topped with a slab of worn marble. Matthew Hobbs was a small, thin man. He looked to be in his mid-60s. He sat behind one of the counters selling cellophane bags of Christmas candy while he talked to us. We asked him about McCauley.
Yes, that's right. Gentleman was here last night. About 10 o'clock, 10:15, no later. You want me to help him? Did you know McCauley that well, Mr. Hobbs? As well as I know most of the kids who grew up around here. Yes, I guess I know him well.
So what did he ask for in the way of help?
His money, clothes. He got no family left. I guess I was the only one he thought to come to.
Well, how is it that you didn't notify us sooner, Mr. Hobbs?
I knew you'd ask. I'd like to explain if I could.
Yes, sir, please.
Did you hand me that stack of bags there, Sergeant?
No.
This? No, the number 2. Yeah, those, yeah.
All right, here you are.
Thank you. As I said, he knocked on my back door about 10 o'clock, and I let him in. Acted just like an animal. Some kind of crazy animal.
Did he have handcuffs on?
Yeah, but the chain connecting him was broken. It made me file off each handcuff.
Yeah?
I wouldn't do it at first. I had an idea what was going on. He said he'd kill me if I didn't help him. He kept threatening me. I never saw Vernon like that before.
Go on, please.
You know, Sergeant, I knew that boy when he was in grammar school right up the street there. Wants to sit down and think sometimes, huh? Where they grow up and change.
Yes, sir. Well, what happened after you took the cuffs off of him?
He got out of his jail clothes and put on one of my suits. Took what I had in my wallet, $12, and then he kept running around and he found my gun. He took that with him, too.
Well, didn't you think of calling for help?
Not the way he acted, Sergeant. Just like a crazy animal. And he'd have killed me if I'd have tried anything. He warned me not to tell anybody he was here. He said he'd come back and kill me if I did. Well, I waited this morning and I called the police.
You said McCauley took a gun from him, Mr. Hobbs.
What kind of a gun was it? 32 automatic. Colt. I've had it for years. I have it registered with you people. He took just what he pleased. Clothes, guns, money. If you want the truth, Sergeant, I just wasn't brave enough to try to stop him.
Well, when Nicole left here, did you notice if he had a car?
No, he left on foot. Walked across the street and went down that way, towards town. I don't know. I don't suppose you'll get too far. I hope not.
Do you have any idea who he might try to contact? Some of his old friends, his relatives?
No, he doesn't have any folks I know of. Terrible thing, isn't it? Kids growing up. Well, the way they change, like Nicole. I can understand them when they're kids. Seen hundreds of them come through here. Know what they're thinking, how they feel. Kind of a hobby. I understand kids. The trouble is they grow up. All of a sudden they stop being kids. I don't understand them after that.
After we left the candy store, we went back to the office and got out a supplementary APB containing a description of the suspect's clothing and the gun that he'd stolen. Together with Gonzalez and Pena from robbery, Ben and I checked all of Nicole's known friends in his usual hangout. Stakeouts were placed. We got nowhere. The late evening holdups continued. Each of the victims identified Nicole as the bandit. He used the same M.O. in each case. They worked only on the weekends, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights. He'd steal a car, pull 3 holdups in the same general area within an hour, abandon the car in the same area, and then disappear. 2 weeks passed, and then a month. The weekend robberies went on. In the most recent holdup victims, we found out that Nicole had picked up a partner. We checked the man's prescription through his staff's office. Each of the stolen cars used by the suspects and then abandoned were checked for prints. We failed to identify the second man. The holdups continued. Nicole and his partner were still at large. Monday, January 26th, 8:30 a.m. Ben and I met with Captain Didion.
What's the count, Skip? The usual. 3 holdups Friday, 3 Saturday, 3 Sunday. He's proved his point. He's consistent. Now, when do you blow the whistle on him? We're doing everything that can be done. Stakeout, extra units on duty. Not enough. The corner pocket wants some results. They want them fast.
How about the times listed for the 3 stick-ups last night? Have they been double-checked?
No, correct. There's something else for you. Figure it out. What is it, Joe?
Oh, let's see. The drugstore out in West Hollywood robbed at 11:14 p.m.
Yeah?
All right, now this one. Coffee shop out in the valley. Robbed at 11:21 p.m. Both of them the same M.O., same area.
Well, it doesn't figure. They couldn't have made it from the spot in West Hollywood out to the valley in 7 minutes. It's not possible. There's a report. Check it. I know, but how could they do it?
There must be some way to work out the answer. There's got to be.
I can give you a shortcut.
Yeah?
Nicole, find him.
Another 2 weeks passed, and then 2 weeks more. Besides the extra men and units put in service on weekends, 2 dozen separate stakeouts were established in areas where we figured Nicole and his accomplice would strike. Didn't help much. The holdups continued. There was only one difference. The description of the bandit didn't jive anymore. We still didn't have an answer to the superhuman speed that the 2 gunmen seemed to show in robbing victims at widely separated points, all within a short period of time. We stayed on it. Friday, February 21st. Ben and I took our turn on night stakeout in a vacant store on Sunset Boulevard. We were assigned to cover a drugstore and a bar directly across the street. We spent 2 weekends on the job. It was quiet. Nothing happened. The third weekend was no different.
One thing's for sure. We never have any luck taking stakeout.
No,
This empty store must be the draftiest place in town.
well, there's always had worse. What time you got?
5 past midnight. A little band over in the bar. Sure earn their money, don't they?
Allowed anyway. Here, Ben. Have a look.
Hey.
Getting out of the car down the street there, see?
Oh, yeah, they're heading for the bar. What do you think?
Both got dark here. About the same bill.
Sounds like they're in a hurry. They're going in the bar.
Yeah, come on. Come on, we better hurry. That's it. Come on. All right, throw on the gun. Look out. Hold it. Throw on your gun.
Now, come on. Hands behind your head.
Watch it. All right, hold it right there. Come on, on your feet. You all right, Ben?
Yeah. You had a good point. I like both of them. That wraps it up, huh?
Well, you better look again.
Huh?
Neither one of them's Nicole.
listening to Dragnet, a series of authentic case history documented from official files.
Many of our corporate customers are worried about employees going wild purchasing office supplies. StaplesLink.com allows them to set up workflow approvals and gives them more control over purchases. StaplesLink.com and IBM are bringing office supplies and office management together. I'm Anne Marie Keene of StaplesLink.com, Vice President of Business-to-Business e-commerce. Staples Link took a great idea, a giant step forward. Staples revolutionized the office supply industry with the superstore.
Saturday, February 22nd. Ben and I took the two robbery suspects downtown to the city hall to the interrogation room. We checked them through R&I and found that they both had records for burglary and grand theft auto. The car that they'd been using that night had been stolen. After 2.5 hours of interrogation, one of the suspects, a P. Albanese, decided to break down and cooperate. 1 a.m., the interrogation room.
I got something out of it, don't I? Helping you. You know, don't forget I helped you when you get me in court. Most people know about it, Pete. You've been making out of court. I want your story. I knew I never should have went for it. Believe me, it won't happen again. The caller, he talked to me anyway.
Talked to the what, Pete?
Helping him out on pickup. I was his partner in his first one.
After he broke through?
Yeah, that's right. He came in with a foolproof system of his, and I was sucker enough to go for it. How long did you work with him? Just a couple of weekends. 3, 4, maybe. I didn't get along with him. No, nobody gets along with him. He's a little crazy, I think.
Who's working with him now?
Oh, I don't know. He's had 2, 3 different guys. I don't know who's with him. Hey, Sergeant, can I have a drink of water, please?
I'll get you something.
How about the way Nicole works? 3 or 4 robberies a night all over town. A lot of guys working, that's all.
So they all think of the same way, huh?
Yeah, sure. When I left them, I went on my own and picked up a partner and used their system. Pretty good one, huh? Well, it looked like a good one.
So you're working on the weekends, picking up a hot car, dropping it fast?
Yeah, you got it. There must be half a dozen guys in this town working the system. They all got it from Nicole. He taught it to them.
Where do we find him, Pete, you know?
Nicole? No, not for sure. He's all figured, you know. He doesn't live there in town. He only comes up for the weekend and works Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then he takes off again. Takes off for what? Went down by the border someplace, Tom City, I'm not sure. You know, don't forget I'm helping you, huh? You'll let him know I cooperated.
Well, we'll let him know, Pete. Now, when's the last time you saw Nicole?
Oh, it's been a month anyway. I never want to see him again. So this may help you, though. I know where his girlfriend stays.
Yeah.
The problem on South Rampart, I can give you the address. She probably goes to her once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else you can think of? No, that's about it. There won't be any pushover, Sergeant. Like I said, I think he's a little crazy. It's not going to be an easy one to take.
Well, we'll give it a try.
Oh, I didn't mean it that way. He's wild, but you'll get him, I guess. Just one thing.
What?
You'll have to tell him first.
3:45 a.m. Pete Albanese and his accomplice were booked at the main jail on suspicion 211 T2. The next morning, Ben and I checked out the address of Nicole's girlfriend, which Albanese had given us. The girlfriend's name was Esther Revard. She told us that she hadn't seen Nicole in more than 2 weeks. We asked her if she knew where the suspect stayed when he was in town. She gave us an address on South Pico. We called in and arranged for a stakeout on the girl's place, and we drove over to check the address that she'd given us. It was a small apartment court on the edge of the industrial district. Nicole wasn't there, neither was the manager. We talked to one of the tenants who told us that the manager, Mrs. Clara Fontaine, was out of town. He said that while she was gone, her daughter Norma was looking after the place. The daughter was employed as a secretary at the Blue Cross Hospital sign office over on Wilshire Boulevard. We called the office and arranged for another stakeout at the apartment court. 1:25 p.m. We located the landlady's daughter at the Blue Cross office on Wilshire. We showed her Nicole's mugshot.
Yes, it's one of Mama's tenants, Mr. Reynolds. He's in bungalow 5.
Anyone staying with him or something?
No, when George stayed with him, no. He has visitors, though. Is something wrong?
Well, when did you see this man last?
This morning. When I was leaving for work, he was outside working on his car. You just speaking, please.
Sure, go ahead.
Your car? Yes, sir. I see. No, just address the letter to Blue Cross Hospital, son. You can send it to us here at the Wiltshire office. That's right. Oh, you're welcome. I'm sorry. What was I going to say?
You told us that you saw this man working on his car this morning.
Oh, yes, he was parked right outside in front. I couldn't very well miss it. I'm going to tell Mama about it when she gets home.
What's that, Miss?
It was certainly strange because it's not that time of year. That's why I noticed it.
What's that?
He was changing the license plate on his car.
Did you get the numbers?
It's right here in my purse.
1:32 p.m. With the information furnished us by the girl, Ben got on the phone and called in a description of the suspect's car, together with the 2 sets of license numbers. It was a 1941 Ford sedan, dark blue, white sidewall tires. Communications got out a broadcast and a supplementary ATV on it. At 6 p.m., Ben and I relieved the men on a stakeout at Nicoli's apartment. We waited. No sign of him. We checked with the office on the hour. No sign of the car. 10 p.m. Still nothing doing. 11 o'clock. Nothing. Gonzalez and Pena from robbery drove out and relieved us, and we headed back to the office. 11:26 p.m. What do you figure? I don't know. It's plugged every hole I can think of. Things due for a break, isn't it? Overdue. I could use some sleep. Wait a minute. Right. Yeah, right away. Skipper? Hi, here's one to move on. Yeah? Charleston Beacon, southeast corner. What is it? Nicoli's car. They got it spotted. 11:56 p.m. Ben and I drove to the vicinity of 12th and Beacon, where we checked with the men in Unit 80K who'd spotted the car. They'd gotten out a code 5 on it. The description matched perfectly. A 1941 Ford sedan, dark blue, white sidewall tires. The license number was one of those given us by the apartment manager's daughter that afternoon. Together with the 2 men in 86K, we staked out on the suspect's car at a distance. It was parked almost exactly in the middle of the block. About 20 feet behind it, a red and white delivery truck was parked. The street was fairly deserted. The only place of business open was a small corner bar at the far end of the block. 12:30. 1 a.m. No one came near the dark blue sedan. We waited. 2 a.m. The corner bar closed up. A man came out, got in the red and white delivery truck, and drove off. 2:30 a.m. The dark blue sedan was still sitting there. We kept waiting.
Roger 13R, code 7.
Well, one way or the other, I wish he'd make up his mind. Yeah, it's a long way. Cold room here, and it wasn't that vacant store. Well, better check and see if you're clear. Yeah, all right, I'll do it. 82 to Control 1. 802 to Control 1.
Control 1 to 80K. Go ahead.
82 to Control 1. We clear.
Control 1 to 80K. Stand by.
Oh, you on smoke? I'm out. You too? Yeah. I guess we do without. Yeah.
Control 1 to 80K. Control 1 to 80K. You're cleared. Code 1, KMH 67.
82 to Control 1, Roger. KMH 67. Hey, have a look, Joe. Just turn the corner. Where? Far end of the block, opposite side. Heading up this way. Yeah. You make out 2 of them there? Mm-hmm. 2. They're passing by the sedan. No, they... We're getting there, aren't they? Mm-hmm. Come on. Spotted us, Joe. They're getting out. All right, hold it there, both of you. Sit down, Joe. Get off the pulley. Hold it, car.
All right, hold it. Don't.
Throw out your gun, both of you.
Harry, don't shoot. Throw out your gun. They'll kill us. Get up, Harry. They'll kill us.
Come on, pull them out.
Don't shoot. Here's my gun. Don't shoot.
One of them.
Come on, Harry. You got us. Get up.
That's 2. Let's go. Yeah, careful.
There's a gun. Don't shoot. I got my hands up.
All right, keep them up.
Okay, I will. Just don't shoot. I didn't use my gun. Harry did. I tried to tell him you heard me. You heard me. You heard me sit up to shoot. Check my gun. I didn't shoot at you.
Come on. Get him out in front of him. I'll get you on. All right.
Come on, officer. Third time for me.
All right, save it. Okay, Joe, you ready? Let's go.
Please, huh?
You need a break? You picked the wrong time to cry, mister.
Please, now, this is the 3rd time for me. I'm no good in that.
You had your chances. You took them away.
That's not the deal. I'm no good in jail. No good at all.
You're no better out here. Let's go.
The story you just heard was true. Only the names were changed to protect the innocent.
On May
May 24th, trial was held in Superior Court, Department 87, City and County of Los Angeles, State of California. In a moment, the results of that trial. Now... Vernon Nicoli and his accomplices were tried and convicted on several counts of first-degree robbery. They received sentences as prescribed by law and are now serving their terms in the state penitentiary. First-degree robbery is punishable by a prison term of not less than 5 years, with a maximum life term.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Red Cross has been asked by your government to help the nation mobilize for defense. You can help by giving generously to the Red Cross.
You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department. Fatima.
Pat Novak for hire.
Sure, I'm Pat Novak for hire. That's what the sign out in front of my office says. Pat Novak for hire. Down on the waterfront in San Francisco, billing doesn't mean much. Everybody's got the same act. They're all out to turn a fast buck, and when you're in business down here, everything but murder is a parlor trick. Once in a while, your eyelids get sore from winking it too much, but it's a living. You get to meet the best people in town. There's only one hooker. You're liable to wake up some morning dead. Because around the waterfront, you don't need a union card for trouble. It sneaks up and paws you like a wet ghost. I found that out when I met Bruno Zweiss. I closed up early Tuesday night, and I went home to catch up on last month's sleep. I don't know how long I was in bed. Must have been about 11 when I woke up. The room was dark and as stale as last year's Christmas candy. I had the goofy feeling that somebody was in the room with me. I was breathing kind of hard, and I stopped to have a listen. Somebody was sitting on my bed. Either that or the landlord had put in an echo. I listened again.
Hello, Novak.
You're mixed up, friend. I pay the rent here.
Get your hands away from the light, Novak. Just be a good boy, and you can collect your old age pension.
Now, look, I'm not crazy about waking up with strangers sitting on my bed, especially if they got baritone voices. Now, say your piece and beat it.
Don't get jumpy, mister. When your eyes get used to the dark, you're going to see a gun about a foot away from your nostrils. I want the keys to your boat, Novak.
Get them in the morning at $25 a smell.
I want them now. Just tell me where they are. I'll do the rest.
Don't get big-hearted.
I don't want chatter and cocktails. I want those keys. Unless you want your face to look like a rump roast, you'll start talking.
The keys are in the bottom drawer of the desk.
That's the boy. Gonna bother your boat a while. You'll get it back by noon tomorrow. There's the boat keys.
2 of them are. The rest open the front door of the U.S. Mint.
Sorry I can't stay around, Novak. You sound like a card. Sleep tight, Novak. This'll have to do for a lullaby.
He didn't even give me time to pick a dream. I stretched out on the floor as dead as a Philadelphia nightclub. I don't know how long I stayed out of the ball game. Must have been a couple of hours.
because when the phone rang, it was past midnight. I reached over to pick it up, but my hands were as steady as a maple leaf in a hurricane, and my head was big enough to sell by the pound. I finally found it in the dark and started talking. Hello?
Hello, Novak. This is Joe Powers down at Pier 19. You awake?
Sure.
Hey, you just sound groggy.
Oh, it's a sedative. What's on your mind?
One of your boats just drifted in. Guess what?
I don't have to. It's smashed up, and you want to offer me $50 salvage.
That's right, Novak. You're psychic.
I'm a patsy, you mean? Some gunsel borrowed the boat a couple of hours ago. Came in here, told me a bedtime story, and took the keys.
Well, you better hop right down here.
It'll keep, Joe.
No, it won't. Hurry up or you'll run a dead heat with homicide. There's a dead guy in the boat.
Well, it must be my playmate.
I don't know. He didn't say. But you better grab a cab and get on down here. There's going to be a lot of questions.
Sure. If you meet any good answers, save a couple for me. From now on, there was no waste motion. I knew that. If homicide was on the case, that meant Inspector Hellman. Well, he's a real nice guy, if you like his type. I had to do something soon. If I didn't, I'd have about as much chance as a pound of liver at a cat show. So I jumped into some clothes, and I was starting out of the apartment when I missed my wallet. The keys were attached, and that gunsel had taken the whole works. I began to get mad. For $70, you can get a Scotch hangover instead of the kind I had. And if you're lucky, a couple of good memories. So when I drew up at Pier 19, it didn't look like the sunny side of the street. Joe Powers was waiting for me.
You got the first round, Patsy. Homicide hasn't showed yet.
I'm full of luck tonight. Where's the boat?
Oh, right over here.
Lots of fog tonight, huh, Joe?
You're walking on it. Well, there it is. How's your insurance, Patsy?
All right, except I'm not carrying any on that dead guy. Who is he, Joe?
I don't know. He's your passenger. You roll him.
All right, give me a hand. No, push him over on the other side, will you, so I can get in the pocket?
He's the same guy that took the keys?
I don't know. If he is, he never looked lovelier. There's nothing in this pocket. This one's empty except for a comb. He sure spent my $70 in a hurry. Must have thrown in the wallet for a nightcap.
No identification.
We should have bought a scorecard.
Hey, here on the floor. It's a key.
Let me see that, Joe. Room 425, Royal Arms Hotel.
Where is it?
That's a dive down on Turk Street. Well, say hello to homicide for me.
Oh, you're not bright tonight, Novak.
Well, I'm not going to stay around here. They'll pick me up faster than a gin fizz.
What am I going to tell them?
Anything you like, Joe. Shift into freewheeling and let them follow, but I'm not going to hang around for a pinch. I'm one boat and $70 short.
Tell it to homicide.
I don't like manual labor that much. See you later. I started for the Royal Arms Hotel. On the way, I picked up the only honest guy I know, a bottle baby by the name of Jocko Madigan. He's a good man, except he thinks it's a waste of the taxpayers' money to put alcohol in torpedoes. I hauled him out of the Hunt Room bar, and we walked down the street to the Royal Arms Hotel. It was the perfect spot for a missionary. The lobby looked like the first act of Rain. There was a pinball machine in one corner, a couple of last year's girls in this year's slacks, and a bleary-eyed little night clerk. He looked like a well-groomed laundry bag, and he gave us the fisheye as we started upstairs. Room 425 was down at the end of the hall. Jocko didn't care if we ever got there.
Patsy, we have no business coming up here. We're in search of fool's gold.
We're in search of my $70.
Exactly. I view you as my penance, Patsy, the sackcloth for a misspent life.
If you can shake off that buzz, you'll find out I'm in trouble.
You'll always be in trouble because you're a patsy, and you're dangerous because you move in the twilight zone between good and evil without any predisposition toward either one.
Yeah, all right. Here it is. 425. Nobody home. Let's go in.
It's housebreaking.
Now, look, Jocko, I want my $70. I'm going in.
Patsy, sometimes you terrify me. I think you'd pick the lock to the gates of heaven.
I would if they had my $70. Come on. The guy's dead down in my boat. We won't hurt his feelings. We'll just nose around a minute and get up. It was a pretty room if you like dead women on your rugs. She was stretched out in a pale yellow dressing gown, as quiet as an April morning and twice as pretty. A dull red scar ran across her temple where somebody had laid an iron shovel. She didn't belong in this hotel because she was wearing a necklace and a bracelet that left a gap in somebody's pocket. And from the ringside, she looked all right. Jocko noticed it, too.
She has lots of character.
Yeah, but where's my $70?
She's a nightclub dancer.
How do you know?
Her picture's plastered all over the wall there. She's the headliner at El Palateo, Miss Rita Malloy.
I wonder who the guy on the desk is there.
Boyfriend, probably. Let's get out of here, Patsy.
Oh, wait a minute. How about that dead guy in the boat? Where does he fit in?
I'll listen to that one, Novak.
Oh, Hellman.
What happened to the girl? She die laughing at you?
It's Rita Malloy, a piece of change from the El Palateo.
Uh-huh. Got a hat, Novak?
No.
Then you're all ready. Come on.
Oh, get your brain lined up and look at her. She's been dead a couple of hours.
You're still eligible, Novak. On your way down, you can explain that guy at Pier 19.
Oh, you can't be that dumb, Hellman.
I'm smart enough to see you peeking over the 8-ball. You look like a 10-to-1 shot, Novak, and I got my money on you all the way.
If you're going to make this thing add up, you can't do it alone.
I'll try.
Well, that's what Firpo said. So I don't look good on this one. I'll look worse if I leave it up to you. You couldn't find a hangnail if you knew what hand it was on.
You got 24 hours, Novak. I'm going to piece things together, and then I'm going to make a pinch. Pick out a soft spot.
Yeah?
Yeah. Stay near the phone. If it rings and a man answers, that'll be homicide. Good night.
Hellman was right. I looked like a sure bet for the rotogravure section. I was beginning to run out of silver linings, and I knew it. I didn't have an answer for anything. The guy in the boat was still a stranger, and Rita Malloy was still dead. I was sitting in the middle of a high-stake game with a pair of trays. When we left the hotel room, I had the funny feeling that there was something wrong back there. I didn't know what. I just knew there was something wrong, the way you feel when you pick up the wrong hat and put it on. The position of the body, those pictures on the desk, I didn't know, but there was one detail that didn't set right. Well, I told Jocko to hang around headquarters, and I started for the El Palateo. It was like all the rest. A little melancholy bar on Mason. A fire trap with a cover charge. The decor looked like early Franco. The floor show was on as I fought my way up to the bar. Excuse me, please. I'm sorry, lady. Can I get through here, please? How about a drink?
Your idea. What do you want?
Scotch.
Soda or water?
Water. You got a nice club here.
We like it. 80 cents.
Too bad about Rita Malloy.
Yeah.
You don't seem heartbroken about it.
I'm not a mother. 80 cents.
Anything wrong, Eddie?
No, boss. This guy's crying in his beer about Rita Malloy.
Oh. I'm Eddie Ryan.
You own the club?
A piece of it.
My name's Novak. Call me Patsy at the moment. The police think I killed Rita Malloy.
When you go on trial, Mr. Novak?
I don't. That's why I came down here, to find out which one of your people killed her.
I see.
She was mixed up to her ears with some thick hoodlum.
You, Mr. Novak?
No, a guy right out of your set. He came rolling in with the tide this morning, playing rigor mortis all over my boat.
Look, Novak, you better go see someone else to tell your troubles to. I'm a busy man.
Yeah, well, so am I, getting out of a murder rap. You knew her, Ryan. In fact, I got an idea you knew her pretty well.
Let's not talk that way about the dead.
Your picture splattered all over her apartment. Were you engaged to her?
That's one way of putting it.
You better have a big fat alibi ready for tonight. Homicide's going to think you killed her.
I'm betting on you for the finals, Novak. I don't need an alibi. She was a friend of mine.
That's why you need one. People just hate their enemies, but they kill their friends.
You better stay out of the public library, Patsy. You're not smart enough to understand epigrams.
I'm smart enough to find out where you were from 10 o'clock until midnight.
Go ahead. Circle around the club. But keep a drink in your hand. We run for profit.
I didn't get much out of the doorman. He wanted a first mortgage to talk, but one of the busboys opened up. He told me that Ryan and the girl had brawled the night before. Also, that Ryan left the club for about an hour tonight. Well, I put him on the list anyway. But it began to look more and more like a one-horse race. Well, I got one other lead. A clarinet player in the band wanted to harmonize with Rita Malloy, but there wasn't much else to go on. And then I spotted the gal who had taken Rita Malloy's job in the show. She was just finishing her number, and so I followed her back to a dressing room. When she opened the door, I got a nice warm feeling like a melted cheese sandwich, and I was looking around for a rope to hang on. She was pretty. And when she said hello, you knew it was time to send in the varsity.
Good evening.
For some people, you mind if I come in?
It's late in the season. I can't be choosy.
All right. I'm Pat Novak.
I'm Tony Drake. What do I do? Tremble?
Talk, mostly. Did you know Rita Malloy?
Around here, that was an occupational hazard.
The police think I killed her.
Did you?
No. When I got there, they were tearing down the goalposts.
Oh, it's too bad. I'd have been very grateful.
It's something I'd like to try.
Are you switching the topic, Mr. Novak, or have I been in the big city too long?
I just want to know who killed her. You got any ideas?
Nope.
How about your boss?
Maybe. She was getting a little frayed around the edges.
How's his temper?
No worse than a cobra's. He might have done it, but I doubt it.
Anybody else?
He was putting in a little overtime with a thug.
Not a big, porky guy with a deep voice?
I never saw him. I just heard that he was trying.
Must have been quite a line. Anybody else? How about that clarinet player?
No play. He was just a salmon swimming upstream.
I see. Well, do me a favor, will you, Tony?
All right. You only get one, so make it a good one.
They're tailoring me for a trip over the hill unless I show up with a fistful of answers. Now, can you give me a list of all of Rita Malloy's friends?
I can write them all down on a piece of confetti.
I mean, everybody close to her. The people around the club here, the people on the outside. I'll pick it up in a half hour at your apartment.
At my apartment?
Yeah, at your apartment.
All right, don't get sore. I was just inquiring, not complaining.
All right. One other thing, Angel.
Yes, Patsy?
Don't forget to put yourself on that list. Be seeing you. Well, it was good to get out of there. When she started walking towards you felt like a shovel full of scrap iron in a Pittsburgh blast furnace. Well, I called up Jocko at headquarters. He didn't seem to be worried about me. He was thirsty. The guy on the boat hadn't been identified yet. The coroner said he died of severe bruises and that Rita Malloy checked out with a fractured skull. I gave Jocko Tony Drake's number, and I started for her apartment. I couldn't have done better with Aladdin's lamp. She had the list and a bottle on hand. I went over the list with her, and then it turned out she had insomnia. The radio was turned down to room temperature. I was working on my fifth drink when the phone rang.
Oh, let it ring, Patsy.
Oh, I better get it, baby.
I think you're a sissy.
No, prison pallor wouldn't look good on me. Hello?
Patsy?
Yeah?
Are you busy?
Well, depends on your point of view. What's up?
I'm not tearing you away from that list of suspects.
Let's have it, Jocko.
They just identified the dead guy on your boat. His name is Bruno Swice. He's wanted in Miami, Florida. He's a hired gunman.
Good. Now jump over and see Paul Stangl at the Chronicle Morgue, huh?
I already have. There's no tie-up between Bruno Swice and Rita Malloy.
There's got to be. Those two killings are tied up like ham and eggs.
Hellman just got a report from the Harbor Patrol. They found a buoy knocked out of place. They figure your boat did it and Bruno got killed in the crash.
What does that do to things?
It clarifies them enormously. This way you're going to hang for only one murder. Good night, lover.
I knew Jocko was right. Hellman could rig me as long as he had only one case to work on. He's a single-celled animal, and this was just about big enough to fit into his brain. Well, I left Tony's apartment, and I walked over to the El Palateo. Must have been about 4 o'clock in the morning. It was still dark enough for me to kick in a back window without being seen. I headed straight for Manny Ryan's office, and I started going through his stuff. It was like trying to separate a ton of salt and sugar dumped in the same bin. I went through most of the drawers, and in the last one, I got a hold of something. I grabbed the phone on Ryan's desk, and I called Hellman. Well, I wasn't sure, but I figured he could try this one on for size anyway. Give me Hellman and Homicide. Yeah. They must have put their best men on his trail because they found him inside a half hour.
Hello, Novak.
I'm in Manny Ryan's office. He owns the El Palateo. I just rifled his desk.
It's a minor offense for you.
I got a hold of last month's phone bill. Guess what?
It's too high.
The office put through 2 calls to Key West, Florida, the last part of this month.
4 o'clock. I'm barely interested. Go ahead.
Bruno's wife's hired out as a gunman. San Francisco is a long way from home plate. That means somebody sent for him.
And you're trying to put the finger on Manny Ryan.
That's right. That silver frame you picked up at Rita Malloy's, take a look at the guy in it. That's her boyfriend, Manny Ryan.
We'll check on it. In the meantime, keep squirming, Novak. You look pretty.
Oh, you're smooth, Hellman.
Smart talk's not going to keep you out of the chair, Novak. Stay handy. We've only got a short extension cord.
Yeah, well... Hello, Hellman. Hello, Lupos. Frank, is Jocko Madigan there? Good, put him on, huh? Hello, Jocko. Now listen, I'm up at Manny Ryan's place. Yeah, that's right. I'm not sure, but I think that Ryan's the... My head must have looked like a jackpot. Everybody in town was hitting it. I rolled over and played dead for about 5 hours. It feels better when you've had a dress rehearsal. I woke up in my apartment. The sun was streaming through the window and hit the bed. I looked like the muslin counter after a sale. It turned out I was the host and didn't know it. Jocko was sitting at the table having breakfast. The bottle was almost half shot.
Good morning. How's the other world?
Can't you leave that stuff alone?
Do you have a headache?
Of course I have a headache.
Well, I haven't, so stop lecturing me.
How'd I get up here?
I dragged you here by the heels. I met all the other hucksters on the way.
All right, stop being funny and help me up, huh?
I am the victim of a common error. You don't like me because I'm not entertaining when I drink. You don't object to my drinking. You object to my lack of wit.
Oh, shut up.
Well, it's discouraging to be condemned on moral principle when it's really a flaw in nature. By the way, I think they're going to arrest you for the murder of Rita Malloy.
What about Ryan?
I've recommended clemency.
All right, come on. What about Ryan?
You bungled it. By the time Hellman got to him, he had an alibi all framed. The calls to Key West could have been made by anybody in the club, and Ryan's covered for the time of the murder.
How about the others?
They look good, too. Your girlfriend, Tony Drake, was gone for a while the night of the murder. Hellman won't bite. She's just sitting there ready to spring an alibi.
That's right. With legs like that, she can dig up a cousin.
You better get worried, Patsy.
I am. The El Palateo is a dead-end street. I don't know where to go from there. That guy Bruno in the boat could help. There's some connection between Bruno's wife and Rita Malloy.
You're the only connection I can think of.
Yeah.
Hello, Novak. This is Hellman.
Yeah?
You were right about Bruno's wife and Rita Malloy. We just went through her safety deposit box.
I'll bet you handled the money.
She had a clipping on Bruno's wife from a Miami paper, 1937.
Go on.
Divorce action between Zweiss and Miss Olga Pryor.
Well, did you look up Olga Pryor?
That's where we run out of gas. Nobody knew her. We have no description.
Well, how about Rita Malloy? Any dope on her before 1937?
I was going to ask you. You were in the room with her when she died, don't you know?
No, I don't.
I'm disappointed. I figured you to know a little about her habits.
Huh?
You wrote the book, mister. I figured you for an answer.
Yeah, I got one. And you just gave it to me, Hellman.
Huh?
Meet me at the El Palateo in a half hour. Now, if you're a real good boy, I'll tell you who killed Rita Malloy.
Are you going to be there?
Yeah.
That's all I want to know, Novak.
Things were falling into place like a fixed roulette wheel. Right from the first, I knew that there was something goofy about the picture in Rita Malloy's hotel room. I wasn't sure. I just knew I had something in the back of my mind. I didn't tumble until Hellman tipped the mitt. And then everything was cakes and ale. I sent Jocko up to room 425 in the Royal Arms Hotel, and I told him to get a description of every dress in the closet. I checked at the desk, and I got the name of Rita Malloy's cleaners. I ducked over there, and I got a list of every dress that she turned in for 3 months. I met Jocko, and we compared the list of dresses. Well, it jibed fine, except for one thing. There was a missing white dress. It had been to the cleaners before. It wasn't there now, and it wasn't in that hotel room. Well, we went over to the El Palateo to find it. Jocko didn't want to buy the scheme at all.
Patsy, I protest the notion of breaking into a lady's dressing room.
Stop worrying, will you? She's not going to be there.
Then it's futile as well as immodest. Besides, how do you know Rita didn't throw away the dress?
I'll give you better than track odds on that one, Jocko. Here we are. Come on. Now, look, you take the closets and find that white dress. I'm going through the desk for grease paint.
You should be going through a woman's closet. It's more in the nature of things.
Just look, huh? There's enough grease paint here for the whole Iroquois tribe. Did you find anything?
Yes. What's this?
Just look for the white dress, Jocko. Hey, what's that in the corner?
Where?
Over here.
I don't see anything.
Well, down here, look, see? Oh. Well. That feels good, doesn't it, Jocko? Like a spell of perfect weather.
Same grease paint?
Well, it won't take us long to check. Here, you open a couple of these jars.
Don't forget your apron, Patsy.
Hello, Tony.
What are you doing?
Getting ready to build a fire under you? You're going to make nice smoke, too.
I liked you better when you were dumb, Patsy. You don't look good with a Ph.D.
Oh, put away the gun, baby. Remember, this is your second trip to the plate.
Give me the dress, Patsy.
It won't fit.
Don't worry about that. Just toss it over by the door here.
I'll do better. I'll bring it.
Stay where you are, Patsy.
It's my ticket out, chum.
You're a good guy, Patsy. Stay out of my way.
It's your role, baby.
Patsy, please stay away from me.
Come on, give me that gun.
Patsy, please.
Give me that gun.
Sorry, Patsy. That's all I could do.
Yeah, sure. You want to take a look at her, Jocko?
Put her down on the floor.
Yeah. What do you say, Jocko?
No dice.
Well, you can't win them all, Tony.
You play too rough, Patsy.
You still got a good batting average, Novak.
Hello, Hellman. You better make a fast pinch.
She do it?
Yeah.
She got kind of clumsy in the last round, didn't she?
Not at all, Copper. They had me coming and going. When you're as far back as I am, they don't pick up the option.
Let's get out of here, Jocko. I'll check with you later, Hellman.
Be a good boy, Patsy. I'm going to miss you. You were getting to be my favorite hobby.
Yeah.
I don't know how you were on the distance stuff, but you were sure something on the sprints.
Yeah. Be nice to her, Copper. She could go in the mud herself. Well, it was blackmail, of course. Tony was once married to Bruno's wife. Rita Malloy found out and started to squeeze Tony. Well, Tony wouldn't buy that, so she killed Rita Malloy in her hotel room. She made one mistake. I didn't tumble until Hellman mentioned a woman's habits. Then I knew what was wrong with that picture back in Malloy's hotel room. It hit me like a discordant note in music. Rita Malloy was lying on the floor in a dressing gown, but she was still wearing her bracelet and necklace. Well, when a woman undresses, she always takes her jewelry off first, and then she takes off her dress. Rita Malloy didn't do that, so I took a flyer and decided that somebody had taken the dress off her and put on a dressing gown. Why? Well, because there was something wrong with the dress. It pointed too much in one direction. Well, it could be a lot of things, but probably grease paint. Tony called Bruno out here. He was supposed to use my boat to dump the body, and when he didn't make it, Tony got scared and lugged away the dress. My $70. Well, it would have looked better on a fixed fight. Well, Hellman asked only one question. How did I happen to know that when a woman undresses, she always takes off her jewelry first? I must have read it somewhere.
The Armed Forces Radio Service has just brought you Pat Novak For Hire, starring Jack Webb. Pat Novak is produced by William P. Russo. Jocko Madigan is played by Tudor Owen. Inspector Hellman is played by Raymond Burr. Music was composed and conducted by Basil Adler. Be with us again next week when over most of these same stations we'll bring you Pat Novak for Hire. Pat Novak for Hire was previously released by ABC, the American Broadcasting Company, for listeners in the United States, and rebroadcast for our men and women overseas. This is the United States Armed Forces Radio Service, the voice of information and education.
Sergeant, you're assigned to homicide detail. It's New Year's Eve in your city and you're on special duty. Thousands of people crowd downtown streets. One of them is a killer. Your job, find them.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was New Year's Eve. It was cold in Los Angeles. We were working the night watch out of homicide, special duty. My partner's Ben Romero. The boss is Thad Brown, chief of detectives. My name's Friday. I was on the way back from dinner, and it was 8:35 p.m. when I got to room 42. Homicide.
Joe?
Hi, Barney.
How is it outside?
It's cold. Not keeping people at home, though. Did you check the crowds?
Yeah. Been watching it from the window here. Seems bigger than last New Year's. Crazy.
You're on with Ben and me tonight, is that right?
Uh-huh. Thought I was going to have it off. Wife had a little house party planned and everything.
Well, that's too bad. Maybe next time, huh?
Yeah, that's what I said last New Year's. Nah, guess we better start moving.
Yeah, where's Ben?
He went down the hall a minute, said he'd be right back. I better take my top coat, huh?
Yeah, I would if I were you. Nothing for us in the book, is there, Barney?
I almost forgot Jack Conley called, having a little party out at his house. Want you, Romero, to drop around when you get off. Said he'd call back.
Oh.
Hi, Joe.
Hi. You about ready?
Yeah, let me grab my overcoat.
All right.
I just tagged by communications. Switchboard's lit up like a Christmas tree, doing a million bid.
Just like last year, they're starting off strong.
415s, 507, calls coming in with a dozen. I'd like to see it just once. People celebrating New Year's without tearing up half the town.
I get it. Homicide Friday. Oh, yeah, Jack. Yeah, well, Barney just mentioned it. Well, we'll try and make it. You know how things are tonight. Yeah, we'll try, sure. Thanks a lot. There's Jack Conley, Ben, on his way home. He wants us to drop by his place if we get off early tonight.
Not much chance of that. You ready?
Yeah, I am. You, Barney?
Mm.
Let's go.
Guess you can't tell. You might get a break.
Hmm?
The crowds are starting in pretty early. Good chance they'll break and go home right after midnight. That should get us off early.
And that was the idea last year, wasn't it, Ben?
Yeah. What time did you get off?
6 a.m. Together with Sergeant Barney Luchek, Ben and I left the city hall and started to cruise to the southern end of the central area. As any police officer can tell you, New Year's Eve for him is one of the hardest working nights in the year. This one was no different for us. Within an hour, we'd had more than a half a dozen calls to check out. Street fights, drunken driving, disturbing the peace. The usual complaints that you'd expect to get when a community of 3 million celebrates New Year's Eve. 9:43 p.m. We were cruising in the area of Alameda and Macy Street.
Unit 72R at Wilshire in Geneva, 311. 311, KMA 367. Roger, 72R. Unit 112 at 83 Naylor Avenue. See the man, keep the peace. KMA 367.
No stopping them, huh?
It's a big night. Smoke, Joe? No, thanks.
Attention all units. All units in the vicinity at East Main and Darwin. An officer needs help.
That looks like we got one, huh?
Yeah.
All units in the vicinity at East Main and Darwin. An officer needs help. KMA 367.
I guess we better handle it, huh?
All right. The next one to the left, Ben. We can go out Darwin.
Well, I better call in. 80K to Control 1. 80K to Control 1.
What's the matter?
Well, I guess they're busy. 80K to Control 1. 80K to Control 1.
Stand by, 80K. Attention, all units. All units in the vicinity. The call to East Main and Darwin is now a shooting.
I guess you better push it, Ben.
Yep. Got it down to the floor.
All units in the vicinity. The call to East Main and Darwin is now a shooting. The call is now code 3, KMA 367.
That's it coming up, Ben. East Main.
Yeah. There's a crowd there on the corner. I guess you better pull up here, huh? All right. Come on.
Over by the light pole, Ben. Joe, man lying on the sidewalk.
You want to check the crowd, Barney?
Yeah, okay.
Let us through here, please.
Can we get through?
Excuse me. Look, will you please get back? Move back, please.
All right, come on. I wonder if you just move along.
Just move along, man.
Move along.
That's
Give us
right.
a little room to work. Thank you. Ben?
Yeah, Joe?
Have a look here.
Huh? No.
That's Jack Conley.
That?
He's dead. His full name was John Patrick Conley, serial number 367. He was one of the veteran officers in Central Homicide. He lay face down on the pavement, one of his legs straddling the curbstone. He'd been shot twice at the base of his skull. There were 4 more bullet wounds in his back. Ben got to a phone, called Homicide, and told them what had happened. 24 cruiser cars and more than a half 100 men were immediately dispatched to the scene of the killing. They circled the area for a dozen blocks around and started a door-to-door search for the killer. Suspicious-looking pedestrians were stopped at every street corner and questioned. 10:30 p.m. The ambulance arrived and Jack Conley's body was taken to the morgue. Along with Thaxter and Bryan from Homicide, Barney Luchek, Ben, and I continued checking in the immediate vicinity of the killing. We found no one who'd admit that they actually saw the shooting. Half a dozen people in the crowd told us that they heard the shots and they saw Conley fall to the pavement. They'd also seen a man standing behind Conley turn and run down the street right after the shooting. No one had followed him. The man was described as medium build, wearing a dark suit and a dark hat. That's all they could tell us. 11:25 p.m. Ben and I met Barney Luchek back at the car.
Morning. Did you get anything?
Checked out every store in the neighborhood that's open. Not much. How about you?
Well, it's the same. Pretty thin.
Bryan and Thaxter turned up a newsboy down the street. He told them he saw the guy in the dark suit running down the street.
Yeah.
Thought he saw the guy come out of this bar here.
We heard that too, Barney. We talked to the bartender. He doesn't recall the man.
Well, I almost forgot. I checked with the office. Mrs. Conley's been calling in. Wants to know where her husband is.
Oh, yeah.
I asked personnel to hold off notifying her. Thought maybe you fellas would want to tell her. You knew Conley pretty well, didn't you?
Yeah, a long time.
Family man?
3 kids.
If you fellas don't want to tell her, I'll call personnel back. They can do it.
No, that's all right. We'll tell her. 11:40 p.m. Ben and I got in the car and headed out for the home of the slain officer, Jack Conley. The house was on Ralston Avenue, just a few blocks from where Ben lived. We parked the car and started up the front walk. The lights were burning in the living room.
Lousy job.
What?
I said it's a lousy job.
Yeah.
Better try it again, huh?
I heard it. Somebody's coming.
Oh.
Hi, Joe, Ben.
Hello, Betty.
Hi, Betty.
I'm sure glad you can make it. Everybody's here. Come in, come in.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm still waiting for that wandering husband of mine. If he's not here by midnight, he's going to be in the doghouse for sure. Here, let me take your coat.
No, Betty, that's all right. I wonder if we could go back into the kitchen. We'd like to talk to you.
But can't you stay long?
Well, no, not too long.
Oh, that's too bad. Well, come on back in the kitchen and I'll get you something. Maybe you can drop back later on. Jack should be here by then. He'd better be. Come on in. Either one of you seen Jack?
That's what we wanted to talk to you about, Betty.
What?
You want to sit down, Betty?
What is it, Joe? Tell me.
Well, he had an accident.
Where is he? I want to go see him. How bad an accident?
Pretty bad.
I want to go see him, Joe. If he's hurt, I want to see him. Couldn't be that bad, could it?
Yeah.
Oh, please, Joe. Please, not dead. Tell me, Joe, please.
I'm sorry, Betty.
Dear God. Oh, God.
Want to give me a hand here, Joe?
Yeah. She's white as a sheet.
Be worse when she comes to. We better get a hold of the family doctor.
No, we're going to have to wait. We'll never get through now.
Huh?
Phone lines are probably jammed. It's midnight.
Oh, yeah. Happy New Year.
12:30 a.m. We finally got a hold of the Conley's family doctor, and he told us that he'd be over as quickly as possible. Some of Ben Conley's relatives at the party said that they'd look after things until the doctor arrived. Ben and I left the house and drove back to the scene of the murder. The house-to-house check of the entire area was still going on. There was no trace of the killer. 1:30 a.m. A low fog moved in over the city. Traffic began to thin out a little. The street crowds disappeared. 2 a.m. The search went on. A little before 2:30, a patrolman on foot located a taxicab driver in the neighborhood who claimed that he'd seen a man answering the killer's description just after the shooting. Ben and I went down the street to talk to the driver. He sat behind the wheel of his cab. It was especially equipped with shortwave radio to handle calls directly from the taxi company's dispatch office.
Try to pass it on for whatever it's worth, officer. It happened just a minute or two before I picked up my last fare.
What time was that? Do you remember?
I'm remembering, too, and I got it right here on the waybill. Yeah, here we go. 9:48 p.m. I was parked just where I am now. Same old stand. I picked up a fare, drove him to North Main and Sotelo, and I came back here. My cab broke down. Lousy distributor. I've been waiting for the repair truck ever since.
Well, just what was it that happened before you picked up that fare here? That was at 9:48, is that right?
Yeah, 9:48, yeah. Well, I was going to say, it was just a minute or two before that. I was parked right here. This guy comes running down the street through the crowd. He was really running, too.
Yeah, go ahead.
He's almost past me when he stopped all of a sudden, turned around and looked at me. I thought he wanted a cab, so I opened the door for him. He just looked at me and said, "Never mind," or something like that, and then he took off down the street. Maybe he was just a little goofed up, I don't know.
Can you remember what he looked like?
Oh, about your build, I guess. Medium. Had a hat on, dark hat, dark suit.
Did you get a look at his face?
Yeah, he's about 28 or 30, dark complexion.
Anything else you remember about it?
No, not for sure. He looked like 100 other moochers down around this neighborhood. Just listen to those calls come in, huh? New Year's Eve, and I draw a lame cab.
Well, there's nothing else that you remember about this man that you think might help us, huh?
No, you got it all, Sergeant. Just acted a little queer, that's all. Goofed up, probably.
Did you see which way he went when he took off?
Right down the street. That way.
Mm-hmm.
Lost himself in the crowd. I couldn't be bothered.
Mm-hmm. How about when he came running down the street towards you? Did you happen to notice where he was coming from?
Matter of fact, yeah, that was just after I heard those gunshots. Of course, I didn't know they were gunshots then.
Yeah.
Looked to me like he came out of that joint up there, right near where the cop was shot.
Which joint was that?
The 228, that bar up there.
Well, it wasn't much, but it was the only lead we had to go on. 7 persons in the vicinity at the time of the shooting had volunteered the information that the killer had been a recent customer at the 228 Club, the neighborhood tavern. The owner and bartender of the club, Ralph Stevens, had been questioned twice that night by different officers, and he twice denied that there was any possibility that the killer could have been a patron at his bar. Stevens' denial didn't make any more sense than the killing itself. We made arrangements to have the cab driver we interviewed come down to the city hall to check through our mug books for the suspect. By 10 a.m. the next morning, the body of the slain homicide officer, Jack Conley, had been posted. 4 bullets were taken from his back, 2 from the base of his skull.
Russ Camp ran the slugs through ballistics, where they were identified as having been fired from a .38 caliber Colt Special revolver. 11 a.m. We drove back to the 228 Club, where we talked to some of the customers who'd been there the night before. 3 of them told us that they'd seen a man answering the general description of the killer in the bar shortly before the shooting. Ben and I went back to the stockroom at the rear of the bar and talked to the owner, Ralph Stevens.
Look, how long does this thing have to go on anyway? I told you everything I knew last night.
We know that, Stephen. Doesn't seem to jibe with what the rest of the witnesses saw, though.
Hey, maybe you better take it up with them. I don't know anything about it. I got work to do, and you're in my way there.
Excuse me.
How come you're so sure that the man we want wasn't in your place last night?
I'm not on trial here. You asked me what I know, and I told you. If you don't mind, I got work to do. You mind moving over there?
All right, we'd appreciate it if you'd cooperate.
All right, if you want to know the truth, you're not good for my business here. Cops never are. Coming around asking questions, customers don't like it. It's no good for business, no good at all.
A cop was killed last night right outside your front door. Now, half a dozen people say that the guy who did it was in here drinking.
I run this place. It's mine. I say the man wasn't in here.
Still like to know how you're so sure.
I'm getting a little tired of this. I don't have an office down at the City Hall to lounge around in. I got work to do. How about leaving, huh?
You want to get your coat? We can talk to you downtown. Come on.
Not before I call my lawyer.
Go ahead and call him. Where's your coat?
Why do we have to have trouble? I haven't got any beefs with you.
No trouble, Stevens. We have to get to the bottom of it, that's all. I'd like to have you cooperate.
Maybe the guy was in here last night. He came in a couple of times, that's all. I didn't want it to get out. Bad for business, those things. Can't afford it. Keeps customers away.
Then the man was in here last night, is that right?
I wasn't trying to cover it for him. I hardly know him. I just didn't want it to get out. I got a right to protect my business.
Who is the man?
Harry Talmadge. He's a hophead. If he did it, it probably wasn't his fault.
How do you mean?
He was hyped up last night, uses heroin. He probably didn't mean to shoot.
Where do we find him?
I wouldn't know if this is right. Old address.
What is it?
Fairview Hotel. Try there.
11:35 a.m., New Year's Day. We got in touch with Barney Luchek and Tom Bryan from Homicide, and they drove downtown to check at the Fairview Hotel for the suspect. Ben and I finished questioning the owner of the 228 Club, and we went back to the office. 11:58 a.m., Barney Luchek and Bryan got back.
Barney, what have you got?
Fairview Hotel on South Grand. Was that the one?
Yeah. Did you find it okay?
Yeah, I talked to the desk clerk.
Talmadge registered there?
Yeah, he was. Checked out 2 months ago. No leads.
You are listening to Dragnet, a series of authentic case histories documented from official files.
1 p.m. New Year's Day. After we found that the suspect, Harry Talmadge, had checked out of the Fairview Hotel months before, Ben and I went back to the office and ran his name through R&I. The information given us by Ralph Stevens, the owner of the 228 Club, was apparently correct. The record on Talmadge showed that he was a confirmed user of narcotics. He served 2 brief terms for illegal possession of narcotics and another short term in the county jail for petty theft. We got out a broadcast and an APB on Talmadge. We checked out all his known friends and relatives, the places that he frequented, hotels, boarding houses that he'd stayed at. No leads. With the help of Lieutenant Walters and narcotics detail, we finally found the trail most likely to lead us to the suspect. The peddlers who were suspected of supplying Talmadge with narcotics. They were kept under a 24-hour watch. 3 days passed. No results. January 4th, 9 a.m. Ben and I went to the funeral and burial services for the murdered officer, Jack Conley. 11 a.m. We got back to the office.
Don't know why, Joe. I just don't cotton to funerals. Not a cop's funeral, anyway.
No, I don't blame you. His wife looked a lot better, didn't she?
Yeah, she did bang up good, considering.
Well, Joe?
Hi, Barney.
What do you say, Barney?
Yeah, young fella you told me about, he phoned you, Ben.
Oh, is that right? Did you give him the information?
Yeah, he wanted to know all about taking the police department examination.
Now, who's that?
One of my neighbor's boys, a nice kid. Wants to get on the force.
I told him to apply at room 5, City Hall, any weekday. You can make his application then. That it?
Fine, Barney, thanks.
Well, they got the recruiting campaign going now?
Yeah, all this month. Taking applications from all over the country.
I'll get it. Homicide, Friday. Oh, yeah, Walters. Just a minute. Okay. ALDSON, Donaldson. Okay, fine. Thanks a lot. Lou Walters and narcotics might be something.
What's that?
Oh? Well, he got a line on one of the mules who used to push heroin to town. He's a guy by the name of Donaldson. He's been sounded out. He's ready to talk to us.
This Donaldson was close to Talmadge?
Well, supposedly, yeah.
You know where Talmadge is?
Well, let's ask him. Ben and I left the office and drove to the address on South Alameda where Donaldson, a friend of the murder suspect, was supposed to be staying. Turned out to be a cheap hotel in the Skid Row district. It was next to one of the rescue missions down there. We finally located Donaldson across the street. He was standing on the sidewalk along with 4 or 5 other men. They were listening to a small Salvation Army band playing outside one of the beer joints.
I hardly miss any of these sidewalk meetings, Sergeant. Like 'em. Band music. I even listen to the sermons. Do me a lot of good.
I understand you're not pushing junk anymore, Donaldson. Is that right?
You want to call me Big, Sergeant? Name's really John, but everybody calls me Big.
All right.
No, I haven't been pushing junk. Not for months. All through with it.
Well, when's the last time that you saw Harry Talmadge?
A couple of weeks ago. I'm not much for Harry anymore. Like I say, I've been regular at these sidewalk meetings, hearing the sermons. Changes the way a fella does things, you know.
Yeah.
Man's got to turn good sometime during his life. Not getting any younger. 58. I figure it's time I start living by the word. Say, that's nice music, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you have any idea where we might find Talmadge now?
I might have a few ideas on it. I don't know. Say, I guess neither one of you fellas use snuff.
No.
Don't bother you, does it?
No, go right ahead.
That's all right.
I know the last boarding house Harry stayed at, if that'll help any. Place on 12th Street. I can give you the address.
Well, is he still there, do you know?
I don't think he is, no. Matter of fact, I'm sure he's not. Wish Harry'd come around and see me. Like to get him interested in these sidewalk meetings. Getting listening to the sermons might help him. Did an awful lot for me.
Yes, sir. When you say that you saw Talmadge about 2 weeks ago?
Well, not quite 2 weeks ago. It was the day after Christmas. Came down to my hotel and wanted some money. I couldn't give him any. That's when he told me he was moving. Going to some rooming house up around the City Hall section up there.
Did he mention any address?
Not that I recollect, no. That sure is nice music, isn't it?
Well, how about some of his other friends, Biggs? You think they might be able to help us?
Well, Duke might help you. Harry and old Duke are still great friends. Duke sees him more than I do.
Where do we find Duke?
Well, you know the Penny Arcade down on South Main? Right down from the train depot there?
Yeah.
That's where Duke works. He's a janitor there. I've been trying to get Duke to come to the sidewalk meetings, too. He sure could stand it, old Duke.
Well, thanks very much, Biggs.
Not at all, Sergeant. Always glad to help out. Now, look at that now. All out of snuff. Say you couldn't see your way clear, could you?
There you go, Biggs.
That's sure Christian of you, Sergeant. I'll handle this just like a personal loan.
That's all right, Biggs. Don't say anything about us talking to you, though, huh? Not to anyone.
No, sir, I won't. You can trust me. Say, when you see Harry, give him a message, huh?
Oh, what's that?
You tell him to come and see me. I want him to show up at these meetings, hear the sermons. It could change everything, Sergeant. Could give him a new life, new soul. Brand new soul for Harry. Think of that.
Yeah, I could use one. 3 p.m. Tuesday, January 4th. We drove down to the Penny Arcade on South Main. Harry Talmadge's friend, Duke, wasn't there. The manager of the place gave us his home address, and we checked it out. Duke wasn't there either. We staked out at the place for the rest of the afternoon. Duke failed to show. At 6 o'clock that night, Barney Luchek and Brian from Homicide came out and relieved us. Ben and I had dinner at Johnny Copen's, and then we went back to the office. 7:20 p.m.
Want to grab that, Joe?
Yeah, I got it. Homicide, Friday.
This is Luchek, Joe.
Oh, yeah, Barney.
Talmadge's friend just showed up here. We're talking to him now.
Will he tell you anything?
Yeah, you got a pencil. You better write this down.
All right, wait a minute. Just a second. All right, go ahead.
1727 West Hoover, apartment 3.
It was 1727 West Hoover, is that right?
Yeah.
Apartment 3?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what's the pitch?
Harry
All right, Barney, thanks. Bye. Blue check? Yeah. What's he got? Harry Talmadge. Supposed to be at this address. Ben and I got in the car and drove out to the West Hoover Street address where we met Luchek and Brian. 1727 was a small two-story apartment house, Spanish stucco in style. Apartment 3 was at the rear of the first floor. All right, Luchek, you want to pick up Brian and you cover the back. Huh?
Right, Joe.
Come on, Ben. Let's go. Huh? Guess up the stairs, huh? Mm-hmm. Number 3. Okay. I'll cover you. No sound inside. Door's open. Well, let's have a look. No, it's empty. You want to try the bedroom? I'll check the kitchen.
Joe, in here. Wait. All right, tell me. What's that? Got a gun, Joe. Grab it. All right, you're like a cop. Right, come on, drop it. Drop it. My arm. I got it, Joe.
All right, come on your feet. All right, get him in back again. All right. Come on, hold still. 38 revolver, Joe. Colt Special. All right, how about it, Talmadge?
It's mine. What of it?
Where's your coat?
I don't know.
Why'd you kill him?
Because I wanted to, that's all. He was a cop.
Is that your only reason?
I told you he was a cop. What's the difference?
It's a big difference, mister.
Why? I killed him. It's just one cop less. What's the difference?
Ask his family. They'll tell you.
The story you have just heard was true. Only the names were changed to protect the innocent.
On March 26th, trial was held in Superior Court, Department 86, City and County of Los Angeles, State of California. In a moment, the results of that trial. Harold Wesley Talmadge was found guilty of manslaughter by jury trial and was sentenced to the state penitentiary. He was paroled after serving 6 years in prison. You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of all long cigarettes, has brought you Dragnet, portions transcribed from Los Angeles.
Stay tuned for Counter Spy, more good mystery on NBC.
The story you are about to hear is true. Only the names have been changed to protect the innocent. You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned a robbery detail. A man is pulled from his car on a deserted street. He's robbed, beaten viciously. His car is stolen. The criminal makes good his escape. Your job, find him.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Monday, July 9th. It was warm in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of robbery detail. My partner's Ben Romero. The boss is Thad Brown, chief of detectives. My name's Friday. It was 9:55 a.m. when we got to the Stacy Hollywood department store. Personnel department.
Stacy Hollywood. That would be the yardage department. Yes, ma'am, I'll connect you. Yes, sir, can I help you?
Police officer.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to speak to one of your employees, Harvey Kimbrough.
Just a moment, I'll page him for you.
You got a match?
Yeah. Here you are.
Thank you.
When I was a kid, I never could figure out what that was.
What's that?
The auto call system. To call employees to the phone. Rings all over the store, you know.
Yeah, I know.
Office. Yes, Mr. Kimbrough, there are 2 policemen waiting to see you on the 10th floor. All right. That was Mr. Kimbrough. He's on his way up.
Thank you very much.
Did I give you the crime report on this thing?
No, I think you kept it, didn't you?
Let's see.
Stacy Hollywood.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, here it is.
Just a moment.
Oh, say. Oh, one these?
What do you got there?
They call them Pepto Pals. They're good. Try one.
Well, what are they for?
They coat the stomach. For stomach aches, you know, good.
Well, I haven't got a stomach ache.
Oh.
These gentlemen here, Stella?
Yes, that's right.
You Harvey Kimbrough?
Yes, sir, that's right. I sure appreciate you people coming over here. I don't like to take time off from work. It makes it tough on my partners, Clive and Warren.
Yes, sir, we understand.
Janitor work in a big store like this keeps you hopping.
Beauty salon.
You haven't got any idea who the hold-up men are yet, have you?
No, sir, we haven't. We'd like to get a little more information on what happened.
Did you talk to the 2 officers in the police car?
Well, yes, we did, but it's customary for us to make a follow-up for any additional information.
You fellas are plain clothesmen, is it?
Yeah, we're from Central Robbery.
Oh, I see. Well, I never knew I'd get this much service.
Yes, sir. Wonder if we might step outside the office here. I don't imagine you want to discuss your personal business here in the office.
It's very considerate of you. Thank you.
Fine. Go ahead.
Wonder if you'd mind going over it again for us, Mr. Kimbrough. Maybe something you didn't think of when the other officers talked to you?
I believe I told them everything. I was on my way into work this morning about 5 a.m.
You live out in Alhambra?
Yes, sir, that's right. I take the freeway in.
It was on Commercial Street that you were held up?
That's right, Commercial, right near Alameda, almost to the corner. Where they're tearing those buildings down. Man flagged me down. Looked like his car was stalled.
Yes, sir.
Always make it a habit to stop when I see somebody in trouble. I know how it is that time of the morning. No gas stations open. Figured maybe the fellow needed a shove or something.
So you stopped to give him a hand, is that right?
That's what I had in mind. I'd no more stop the car. And he came over, he pointed a gun at me and told me to get out.
What'd you do?
Well, I asked the fellow what did he want. I told him I didn't have any money. Told him I was on my way into work.
What did he say to that?
Didn't say anything. He just opened the car door, grabbed me by the arm, and pulled me out. I wasn't prepared for it, and I kind of fell out onto the street.
Yeah.
I still didn't know what he was after. Thought at first he might have been crazy. He was going to kill me.
Well, why'd you think he was going to kill you? Did he threaten you?
No, with the gun and all, and the way he pulled me out of the car, I just couldn't make it out.
I see. Would you go on, please?
Well, he took my wallet from me, all the money I had, $14. And then he said, don't bother to get up and stay right there for 5 minutes after I leave. And then he bent down and he hit me in the face.
What did he hit you with?
With his fist. Hit me right here in the mouth. You can see the cut right inside my lip here.
Yeah.
See, it bled pretty heavy.
Yeah, it's a nasty cut.
Oh, it's better now. The men who came in the ambulance, they put something on it. It'll be all right.
Well, did he knock you out when he hit you?
No, I saw him get into my car, and then the car parked up ahead took off, and this man who held me up, he followed my car.
Mm-hmm. Well, do you have anything more on the description of the hold-up man or his car?
No, I think I told the other officers everything I could remember.
Would you recognize the man if you saw him again, Mr. Kimbrough?
Yes, sir, I think I would.
Well, your car is a blue 1948 Dodge sedan, right rear fender damage. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Any other identifying marks at all?
No, sir, that's about the size of it.
And the other car looked to you like a late model Chevrolet, is that right?
49 or 50 anyway, two-tone green.
Yes, sir, that's what we have.
Did you see the license number on that?
No, sir, I didn't.
This witness who's listed here, Mr. Sidney Ferguson?
That was the fellow that stopped and picked me up, brought me into work. Did you talk to him yet? He might be able to help.
Well, we're going to see him as soon as we leave you. 800 block on Savacoy.
Yes, sir, that's right. Sure hope you get that thief. My car, too. Awful hard to get around Los Angeles without a car.
We'll do our best.
I was just wondering, Mr. Kimbrough.
Yes, sir, what's that?
Well, you say that when the man hit you, he didn't knock you out. You weren't unconscious?
No, sir, I was not.
Well, did you try to locate a phone, call for help?
I didn't have to. This Mr. Ferguson pulled up and stopped right away, and then the officers came. Besides, I figured I'd better do what I was told.
How's that?
I was afraid. I was going to wait 5 minutes.
Ben and I left the department store, picked up our car in the parking lot next door, and drove out to the San Fernando Valley, the 800 block on Satacoy Avenue. Citizen's home was better than 1 mile south.
Round back! Through the gate there, down the driveway.
This way, I guess, huh?
Yeah.
Hi there. This is the Ferguson house.
Yes, sir. We're looking for Sidney Ferguson.
Surely, I'm Sidney Ferguson.
Police officers, Mr. Ferguson.
Got that holdup this morning out on Commercial Street.
Yes, sir, that's right. This is Sergeant Romero. My name's Friday.
Happy New Year. Excuse my wet hand. Been cleaning out my tanks.
Yes, sir.
You fellas work out at City Hall?
Yes, we do.
Wouldn't happen to know a John O'Grady down there, Narcotics Division? Went to Highland.
No, I don't believe I know him. Ben?
O'Grady?
Yeah.
Tall fella, kind of blonde, wavy hair?
Yeah, that's right. Good-looking fella.
Yeah, I think I've seen him around.
Good friend of mine. Wasn't that a shame this morning, that Kimbrough guy?
Yeah, it was a rough one. The reason we came out to see is that we thought that maybe you could give us some additional information on it.
Glad to give you all the help I can. I'd like to see you get that hold-up, man.
Mind giving us a rundown on what happened this morning?
Not at all. It's around 5 o'clock this morning. I'm not usually up that time in the morning, but I was on my way back from Monterey Park. Generally try to make it down there at least once or twice a month. Go down to see Jack Robinson, an Aquarius friend I have down there. We swap fish.
Yes, sir.
I was on my way back, coming down Commercial Street, when I saw this man sitting on the side of the curb. Looked like he was hurt to me.
I see.
Wouldn't have noticed it, probably. It was pretty dark, but those 2 cars pulled out, one right after the other. Seemed to be in a big hurry.
You pulled up to give Kimbrough a hand?
Yes, I did. Of course, when I got close enough, I could see the guy had been kicked in the teeth. Bleeding pretty bad. Offered to take him to the hospital, but he said he didn't want to be late for work.
Mm-hmm.
After the officers came and talked to him and the ambulance men treated him, I drove him up to Stacy's Hollywood, dropped him off there. That's where he works, you know.
Yeah. Well, the report says here that you got the license number of the getaway car, but you couldn't find the paper that you'd written it on when the officers interviewed you, then?
Yes, I did, and that doesn't beat them all.
What's that?
Well, I had the piece of paper a few minutes before the officers got there. Guess I was more rattled than the Kimbrough fella. When I got home here this morning, there was a slip of paper right on the floor of my car. A little bit of a break, isn't it?
Yes, sir, it is. I wonder if we could have it.
You bet you can. Let's step inside.
Fine, thank you.
Don't mind the fish, officers. It's my hobby, tropical fish.
Sure got a lot of them.
Yeah. Let's see. Now, where did I put that piece of paper? I really wrote it down, believe me. I just misplaced it someplace here. I'm trying to get rid of some of the algae off the glass of the tanks.
Joe, look at these. You ever seen anything prettier in your life?
Yeah.
Those are what they call clownfish, saltwater fish.
Mm-hmm. Do you keep all tropical fish in salt water?
Oh, no. Most of them are freshwater. That is, ones that breed good in captivity.
Where do you get all these fish? Catch them?
Oh, no. A place called Aquarium Stock Company out on Beverly.
Uh-huh. Look there, Joe. Down the corner. See him over there?
Yeah.
That's a seahorse, Joe.
Yeah, that's right. They're also kept in salt water.
Sure is interesting, huh, Joe?
Yeah.
How'd you fellas really like to see something you haven't seen before?
What's that?
Look in this tank here. Hoplochromis multicolor. That's her scientific name, commonly known as the Egyptian mouth breeder.
Is that a fact?
It's a little female there. She's one of the most sacrificing mothers in aquarium history. One of the strangest, too.
How's that?
Well, she lays her eggs in a small depression in the sand down there at the bottom of the tank.
Well, how many eggs would that be?
Usually 80 to 90. Now, here's the strange part. As the eggs are fertilized, she scoops them up in her mouth.
She eats them?
Oh, no. They remain in her mouth while they hatch.
Well, how long does that take?
Over 14 days.
Well, how does she eat?
That's just it. She doesn't. She doesn't touch food in any form for this 2-week period. Seems to just waste away.
And what happens then?
Finally, the eggs hatch after 14 days, and the little fry comes swimming out of the mother's mouth.
Yeah.
And while the fry are growing up, first, you know, you can hardly see them. They're so tiny. While they're growing up, if anything frightens them, quick as a flash, they're back in the mother's mouth.
Well, that's certainly amazing. You?
Yeah.
Hoplochromis multicolor, commonly known as the Egyptian mouth breeder.
That as big as they ever get?
Yes, sir. 1 inch to 1.5 inches.
It's hard to believe.
The bedders are almost as strange. The male builds a bubble nest on the surface of the water. That's these in this tank. Oh, here's that paper.
The one I wrote the license number on.
Oh, that's fine. I wonder if I could see that, please.
Here you are.
Thank you.
You pretty sure of this number, Mr. Ferguson?
Yes, I am. I got a good look at it.
Well, thank you much, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Not at all. Wish you could come over and spend a little time. You seem kind of interested in tropical fish.
Yeah, well, maybe I'll do that sometime.
Bye.
Bye, sir. Thanks very much. That's a good break if this license number checks out, huh?
Yeah. That Ferguson's a nice fellow.
Yeah.
Say, Sergeant Romero.
Yes, sir?
You almost forgot. I meant to ask you.
What's that?
About 5 weeks from now.
Yeah?
How'd you like a nice pair of baby Egyptian mouth breeders?
"10:45 a.m. Ben and I got in the car and headed back toward town. I called communications and had them check the license number Ferguson gave us through DMV. They called back and told us that the car was a 1949 Chevrolet four-door sedan. The registered owner was a Jack B. Grant, 19112 Beacon Street. It was in the southwest part of Los Angeles. It was a large, old-fashioned residence that had been converted into a rooming house. We checked with the landlady, a Mrs. Ida Fisher.
He's been with me here about 8 months.
What time did you say Grant left this morning, Miss Fisher?
Well, it was pretty early. Must have been around 4 a.m. when I heard him go out. He came back in again about 8 o'clock this morning. Parked his car, and then he drove off with some other man.
Would you happen to know the other man?
No, I wouldn't. I just saw him drive off.
Where does Grant park his car, ma'am?
Around back in the garage.
Wonder if you'd mind if we take a look?
I know, that's all right. You just go right around the back there down the drive.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Now, there's 2 cars parked in there. The black Ford belongs to Mr. Spencer.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
And the 19 and 49 Chevrolet, that's Mr. Grant's.
We checked the car and the license number. It matched the description given us by the victim, Harvey Kimbrough, and the witness, Sidney Ferguson. Together with Mrs. Fisher, we checked Jack Grant's room. We found nothing of importance. His clothing and personal effects were all there, nothing to indicate that he wouldn't be back. We told the lady that we're placing the house under surveillance, and if Grant should return, not to say that we'd been there. She agreed and offered further assistance. She said she'd signal us by raising and lowering her front window curtain when Grant returned. We parked down the street, called the office, and advised them we were on stakeout. 2 men were sent out, and they covered the back entrance. Ben and I covered the front. By 6 o'clock that night, Grant had failed to show. 9 p.m., still nothing. 11 p.m.
What time did they say that relief team was coming out?
Around 11 sometime.
Chandler and Ricketts, huh?
Yeah, I guess so.
Oh, I sure am stiff. Feels like needles all over my body. Been about 12 hours, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Just like driving up to San Francisco. Wife always makes me drive all the way. When I climb out of that car, I'm as stiff as a board.
Car pulling up down the street there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's Ricketts.
Hi, Jack.
Friday? Who's that you got with you?
Same guy that bought you your lunch yesterday.
Stop bragging. That's the house right up there.
Yeah, that's right, the green and white one there.
No sign of them at all, huh?
No, nothing.
Well, you guys want to take off?
Yeah, I guess you can make out, Ricketts. You got Chandler with you.
I feel sorry for you, Friday, drawing this guy for a partner.
Well, after 7 years, he kind of grows on you. I'd like to check out the landlady before we take off. Her name's Ida Fisher, Jack.
Right, Joe.
Let's go, Jim.
Yeah.
See you later, Jack. Say hello to Chandler.
Right, Ben.
That Ricketts. Sure is a rib staker.
Yeah.
Front room lights are still on. Guess she's sweating it out with it.
Uh-huh.
Yes? Who's it?
Police officers, Miss Fisher.
Who?
Sergeant Friday.
Oh, yes.
Sorry to bother you again,
Oh,
ma'am.
that's all right. I just couldn't see who it was, and the porch lights burned out.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Grant?
I want to light up his room.
I don't see why he hasn't come in.
Look out, Mom!
Mr. Grant, move it! Mr. Grant!
Ricketts, it's Grant! I'm back!
All right?
Son, he made me hide him.
Lady, will you call an ambulance? Hurry. Joe.
He's not dead, is he?
Lady, get the ambulance, please. Monday, July 9th, 11:28 p.m. The ambulance arrived and Joe was taken to Georgia Street Receiving Hospital. His condition was critical. Despite the fact that the other men on stakeout at the house had closed in as quickly as possible, Jack Grant somehow succeeded in jumping out a side window and making good his escape through a maze of neighboring backyards. The men at the scene began a search of the immediate area. I called in and communications got out a broadcast on an APB. A special detail of men and cruiser cars was rushed to the scene and a blockade thrown up around the area. I stayed on and worked with Ricketts and Chandler. Under questioning, the landlady, Mrs. Fisher, broke down and admitted that Grant had given her $10 to keep his presence in the house a secret. He told us that when we'd searched the suspect's room earlier, he had hidden in the cellar. She was taken into custody. 1:30 a.m. I got a relief and I went downtown to the Georgia Street Receiving Hospital. P&F ward.
We removed one slug from the upper thoracic region, another one from his right shoulder. Looked like they could have been .38 caliber. They've been marked for evidence.
How's he doing?
As well as can be expected.
What does that mean?
It's hard to tell. Depends on how it goes the next 4 hours.
Can I go see him?
No, we're not admitting anyone in there. He's under sedatives, lost quite a lot of blood. It's pretty weak.
You need anybody for transfusions?
No, it's all taken care of. His relatives been notified?
Yes, sir. Just his mother. She's visiting relatives up in Renton, Washington. I sent them a wire. They'll break the news to her.
Yeah, that's about all we can do for now.
Oh, I wonder if I couldn't sneak in and leave this carton of cigarettes for him.
I'm afraid it's going to be some time before Sergeant Pryor can use them. Just leave them. I'll have the nurse take care of it.
All right, Doctor. Thank you. Is there anything I can get for him? Anything he needs?
No. We're doing everything we can for him.
You don't think I could just look in for a minute?
No, I'm sorry.
Must be something I can do.
You got a good prayer handy?
2 a.m. I left Georgia Street Receiving Hospital and drove back to the scene of the shooting. The search for the suspect, Jack Grant, was still going on. The neighborhood was checked and rechecked. Everything possible was done to find the man who had shot down Sergeant Joe Friday. It's been said that a police department goes all out, doubles its efforts to run down a criminal who attacks a police officer. It's true, but most people aren't aware of the reason. Certain elements you to believe that the police officer places the safety of his fellow officers above that of the citizen. This isn't true. His first day at the academy, the cadet peace officer is taught this basic fact. If a criminal would shoot down the armed police officer, he wouldn't hesitate to shoot down the unarmed citizen. 3 a.m. I finally located Lieutenant Jack Ricketts at the corner of Coronado and Beacon Street, 7 blocks from the scene of the shooting.
How is he?
Not too good. Depends on the next 4 hours.
What are his chances?
I didn't ask.
Well, we're not getting any place here.
Nothing at all?
Nothing.
Something's got to break.
Chandler's still downtown. They're combing through Grant's package down at the I Bureau.
They come up with anything?
Not the last time I checked. About 40 minutes ago.
Got any ideas?
Fresh out. You?
Couldn't have gotten far. Not this soon he couldn't.
Bus depots, train terminals, and airports are all covered. Highway patrol's been alerted. Nothing so far.
He's someplace close. He's got to be.
I think he's holed up in town, too, but where?
Yeah?
He's in a jam. He's had good publicity. A lot of his friends are going to hide the welcome mat.
Maybe that narrows it down a little.
Maybe.
Let's find him. 3:30 a.m. Jack Ricketts and I got back to the city hall. We went directly to the I Bureau. Chandler and Powers had sifted through Jack Grant's package. They'd drawn up a list of all Grant's known friends and associates. There were 22 names on the list. 3 of them were in San Quentin Penitentiary. 2 of them were doing time at the county work for him. That left 17 names on the list. Further checking showed that 5 of them had out-of-state addresses. 12 names. The list was split down the middle. Ricketts and I took 6 names, Chandler and Powers 6. Of the 12, with the exception of 1, all names had appeared in police blotter in the past 8 years. Raymond Weller, Peter Denton, Horace Phillips, Henry Breen. Ricketts and I checked them. Some were in bed, some hadn't been to bed. We were reasonably sure none of them knew the whereabouts of the suspect. I called Georgia Street to find out about Joe. They told me no change in his condition. 4:55 a.m.
After this one, we get a quick bite to eat, huh? You don't look so good.
I'm not hungry. What's this one's name?
Anthony Baxter, room 23.
This is it.
Yeah.
Anthony Baxter?
Yeah.
Police officers, we want to talk to you.
That's a fine hour to get a guy out of bed. You always sleep with your clothes on? Let's step back there in the room.
Hey.
What's going on?
You a friend of Jack Grant's?
Why?
Do you know Jack Grant?
Why?
Jack Grant's a friend of yours?
I'm not going to tell you anything till I know why.
You want to talk here or downtown?
I got a right to know what it's all about.
Get your hat and coat.
You just want to know if I know Jackie Grant, is that all?
You want to get that coat and hat?
I know Grant.
Where is he?
I don't want to get mixed up in anything.
You're mixed up in it already, you know him.
You know, that's the trouble with you guys. Guy tries to walk the straight and narrow, and you guys come around and try and push him into a corner.
Where's Grant?
Look, I've been in jail, and I did my time. You haven't got anything on me.
Baxter, let's get this straight. We're not after you, we're after Grant. We didn't come here to push you around. We don't want you to push us around. And where is he?
I'm going to tell you something. I don't like being talked to this way, and I'm not going to stand for it. I got certain rights, and I'm going to stand on them.
No, you listen to me. A friend of mine's lying in the hospital because of your pal Jack Grant. He put 2 bullets in him. Now I'm tired, and I'm out of since work. Where is he?
All right, Ben, it's all right. It's the last time around, Baxter. Tell us where Grant is, or we go downtown. Come on, quick.
Hotel Filbert, room 605.
5:27 a.m. We located the Filbert Hotel on North Crocker Street. On the way over, we called in and told them what we'd found. Chandler and Powers met us outside the hotel. They took up their position. Ricketts and I checked with the desk clerk and confirmed that the suspect was in room 605. He was registered under an alias. We took the elevator to the 6th floor. Room 605 is directly across from the elevator.
What is it?
Police officer.
Watch your pants.
Now keep your hand out of that pocket, Grant. I wouldn't want to shoot you. 5:42 a.m. Ricketts and Chandler took the suspect into custody. It was 6:03 a.m. when I got to Georgia Street Receiving Hospital, P&F ward.
Sergeant?
How is he?
You can go in. Don't stay too long.
Thanks. Hi, Joe.
Hi. You look tired.
How you feeling?
Oh, I'll do. How'd it go?
We got Grant.
You look tired. You been working straight through on it?
Yeah. Anything I can get you?
No. Guess I better hurry up and get out of here, huh?
Why?
Well, we still got that stolen car to find.
Story you just heard was true. Only the names were changed to protect the innocent.
On November 7th, trial was held in Superior Court, Department 89, City and County of Los Angeles, State of California. In a moment, the results of that trial. Jack Grant was tried and convicted on 1 count of assault to commit murder. He and his accomplice were convicted on several counts of first-degree robbery. Assault to commit murder is punishable by imprisonment from 1 to 14 years. First-degree robbery by imprisonment from 5 years to life. The landlady, Ida Fisher, was placed on probation. You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department.